Hey,
Well, hello.
hey!
What's up, Lindsay? How are
Not
you?
too much. Good. How are you?
Man, I am having a day, man.
Sounds
I
like
know
you've
we
been
all are.
busy.
Oh, man. Welcome in, everybody. Oh, a couple people are already in. Hi, everyone.
Hey, hey!
Um, on YouTube or Twitch a litcha ding dong. Yeah, dude, I've been for like 3 days. I've been trying to work on different stuff with this podcast with me and trying to work on Kim's show and work on this show. Um, and the Wednesday show's been doing all right, but like every time that I try to set aside some time to do like audio editing or putting together intros or working on Kim's stuff for her because she's been out of town, my phone fucking rings with like some dire emergency. And it's like
Every
either
time.
something's wrong with my kids or my mom's not feeling good and she needs something,
Mm,
or Melissa needs
I'm
me
so
to,
sorry.
go to the store, or like, yeah, but nothing's like life threatening or anything like super bad. It's just like
Just
there's always
busy.
something occupying, man. It's like I have this curse. I don't know if you have the same curse as me. No one ever calls me unless I'm already on the phone or in the middle of something. If I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
sitting there and not doing shit, like people don't call me.
Yeah. No,
But
well,
soon as my phone rings, someone else calls me.
I'm a millennial, so if somebody's calling me, somebody had better be dead. If somebody calls me, I'm like,
I called you
I,
earlier. Nobody was dead.
it's true. That's true. I'm saying there's very few people. I'll answer the phone for a couple people. Most people, I'm like, is someone dead? Why are you calling me? Like, don't call me. Hey,
You scared
Constance.
me.
I know. It's how my kid, people just don't like visit anymore. And especially like COVID and stuff. So when people come to the door, my kids like lose it. Like you would think like we are actually being robbed. Like they're like, there's someone at the door. And I'm like, okay, answer. Or you can answer through the ring. You don't even have to answer it. And they're just like, what do we do? And I'm like, you talk to them or come get me. I don't know. Do whatever you want. But that's how I am about somebody calling. Like they call me and I'm like, why would you call me on a phone?
Have you ever seen that? Have you seen that stand up on I forget what the who the comedian is. I don't know, can't get the top off this. There it goes. This comedian, and he does this stand-up routine, and it's older. It's like this isn't a new thing. It's been around for a few years, which makes it even more funny because like it shows how long we've been in this rut. But the guy's like, he's like, back when I was a kid, people would come over and they'd be like, you'd be sitting around the kitchen table talking with your family, and the doorbell would ring, and mom and dad would get up and they'd go to the doorbell and they'd open the door and they'd be like, oh, look who it is. Come on
I've
in.
seen this.
Have some coffee cake. Like,
Yeah, we have
mom would
dessert
always
in the
have,
freezer.
yeah, mom would always have this cake and it was only for company.
Yeah.
Right. And like the people would come to the door and they'd be like, hey, we were in the neighborhood. We figured we'd just stop by.
Yeah.
And, mom would have yourself a piece of coffee cake. Sit down. How you doing? Tell me what's going on in your life. And everybody had this thing. And then he like talks about today and he's like, hey, JD. And he's like, now the doorbell rings and people.
It is. Yeah. I'm like, why are you here? I don't want to buy anything. And they're like, oh, I'm just your neighbor. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know.
I'm in the neighborhood. And
yeah, what do you need? Yeah, like, why are you here? This is suspicious. No, I'm just, like, I'm like, why would you come over? Like,
yeah. I just was driving by your house. I
yeah.
saw your light was on.
Yeah,
and I was like,
You got a text before you ring that doorbell.
Yeah, what the fuck's wrong with you? You could have woke up the kids.
Exactly. What are you doing at my house? So, yeah, anymore, it's so different. Because I remember when I was a kid, like, people would just stop by, but nobody. Like, that doesn't just happen. Like, nobody just drops in.
I open the door. It's someone just there, a friend or whatever. I have to set the gun down.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, even
Hold
like,
on. Let me uncock it.
yeah. Well, even like salespeople, if we don't know anyone, we just answer with the ring now. We're like, what do you want? Like, why would you knock?
Ring has changed shit.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
But like, where are
absolutely.
you on Ring? Where are you on Ring though? Because like Ring, there's a lot of negative shit with Ring too, like with the selling of the data and like the stuff being open to hackers and stuff like that. Like for people to know when you're home or when you're not home. Like there's this big debate on like, is Ring good or bad?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
No,
because I know Amazon's selling that data.
Oh, everybody's selling all data at this point. You should I'm to the place where I'm like, if you're using anything electronic, I just assume at this point it's probably being sold, which I don't like, but we're so far behind the curve of creating mechanisms to protect our personal information that we're just going to have to play catch up. But no, I don't love that, but I do love the convenience. And so, like Americans, I will allow them, like, knowingly let them sell my personal data for the convenience of not having to answer my door. So that's where I stand on it.
That's true. In fact, let's see. Google's on the line. Yeah, Constance is on our stream right now.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
I just
understand.
stole your information, Constance Lamar.
I understand why you wouldn't have one. It's just,
No,
I like the convenience and
we have one. We have multiple ones, right? Like we have a bunch of rings, and like I have the Ring doorbell and 2 additional cameras. So like they cover the whole fucking house.
yeah.
But like, and like I sit there and I think like, okay, I know Amazon's selling this. I'm not sure like where the danger's at. I'm sure that someone could tell me that a danger and there'd be something. Um, but like I'm not like, so they know that I'm not home. I suppose that's information I wouldn't want a hacker to have, because
Yeah.
they could be like, okay, well, let's go to their house. But like, the hacker, to me, like the hacker would have to be close enough to
Yeah.
you
Well,
to be
and they're
like,
not
they're not
really
gonna just fly in from
interested.
India.
No, and it's you not being home. Like, if they're hacking your Ring, they can do that while you're home. That doesn't matter. Like, everything they're doing, you being home doesn't matter. But yeah, do you have the cameras in your house or just like the cameras around your house?
No, I'm not putting that shit in my house.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
we don't have them in our house because, like, when we bought them, they come with like, oh, cameras for in the house. I would never. We have a friend who has a bunch all throughout their house.
Do they
And
have little kids with a daycare worker inside or something?
no, I mean, they have little kids, but just them in the house. But yeah, they have cameras throughout their house, and I don't get it because
We used to
that
have one in
wouldn't
the
be
house.
me.
We did used to have one in the house. We had one in the house when the baby was little, when our 8-year-old was little. There was a camera in the house, the nanny cam.
Okay, see, I can understand that.
Yeah, like to just kind of let her be able to see what was going on in the house. So we used to have the house cordoned off on the inside. Like we had one camera in the kitchen and one camera in the living room, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And those are gone. I don't remember when I was told to take those down, but at some point in time, I probably got looked at, the fingers shake. She was like, "Go
Get
take
rid
those
of
down."
those. Get rid
Yeah.
of those.
I've changed my mind. I don't like them anymore. I'm like, but you just told me to put those up there.
To protect the baby.
Yeah.
I was never a fan of those. So I don't know. The cameras in the house, that's what I'd be more concerned about, is that if they could hack it, they can get video of like me walking in and out of my house and a timestamp. If they hack that, like, yeah, I'll be like, yep, I leave my house. But like in my house, getting that information, like, I don't know, that just feels like weird.
You get out of the shower wave.
Yeah.
Some hacker. Yeah.
Hey guys. Yeah.
So you're some hacker checking you out from like, Malaysia or some shit
Yeah,
like
I was
that.
saying
Like,
Nepal, something. Yeah.
you're
'Cause
on
you never know.
OnlyFans. Somebody else's
Unknowingly,
OnlyFans. Yeah.
I say
It's
that's how
And then they
That's how we
accidentally
make.
flip it with my stream, and they're like, "Oh shit!
Yeah.
Turn the camera
Oh,
off!
here we go.
Turn the camera off! Get that camera off!"
They start accidentally hacking other places.
That would be a great one. So, like, you want to get back at the hacker. They're like, "Oh, let's the hacker, you rehack the hacker." So the hacker thinks they're watching Lindsay's house, and Lindsay's about to take a tinkle, and the hackers are all watching, all the thirsty guys, like, "Oh, she's about to think," and then we switch the stream, and they get me instead, and I'm like,
there you go.
Here I am, and
like,
they're like,
hack,
"Oh."
yeah, a hack the hackers, yeah, exactly. Pull them all in, have that, and then be like, we anonymous y'all's asses. You're done. You're done.
You guys are all fun. They're all in blind. They're like, I can't see. There'll be like 2 or 3 of them who are like, okay, no, I'm down with this.
This is better, actually. This is the content I came for.
Most of them would die, but there'd be 2 or 3. You'd be like, whoa, what's that? Well, okay. I mean, I'm willing to give it a try.
I'm down. Yeah.
Willing to give it
this awoke something new in me.
Yeah. I'm suddenly woke. I'm woke towards beached whale, pale, pasty white men now. That is unfortunately a curse that I have, is the paste. I'm paste. You might as well just call me pasty. Like, I am unable to tan, and it's bad.
Oh no, you saw me. I am Caucasian, unseasoned.
I'm sure you tan better than I do. Like, I have 2 tones, pasty or burned.
No, you saw me. I was in California for a week, and I came back like this because I burned the first day, and then I peeled, and now I'm back to my very white self.
You just walked out of the skin. She rips the skin off.
Yeah, my body's like, no, absolutely the fuck not. Like, we're gonna shred that, take it off you. You're white. Like, that's it. You're the palest.
See, reptilian Democrats, they were onto something.
Exactly. They knew. They knew. So yeah,
we rub our nose on the rock.
Yeah, no, I've got no pigment. I'm pigment deficit. So
I should have known. We're like brother and sister. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
With everything that's been true of me so far has been, for the most part, true of yourself. Yeah. Which is why we're such a perfect fit to do this.
That's why this works.
Yes, why it works. Though I am wondering where the world is at. Come on, guys. Say hello in the chat. I see there's 4 or 5 of you there, and just Constance. I don't want to talk to Lamar. I've been talking to Lamar
for 40
years.
Constance, you get so much shit.
Yeah, Constance Lamar. Lamar Kendrick, Constance. But all right. So like I said, I have been super fucking busy, and I haven't had like a ton to do. I did go to see Black Adam today.
How was that?
Say, definitely worth going to. It was super, super good. And I hadn't seen the new Black Panther trailer yet, but they played it during the trailers. And I'd seen a Black Panther trailer, but I hadn't seen this particular Black Panther. I've seen a couple Black Panther trailers, but this one I had not seen yet. And this one looked great. So I'm really looking forward to that in a couple weeks. But as far as Black Adam goes, like, The Rock is not like the world's greatest actor. And like, there's a couple things where it's like, okay, this is The Rock. This is a Rock movie. Like, am I watching Fast and Furious?
He will be playing The Rock.
Yes.
He plays one character.
Exactly. And it's like, and he's playing this WWE role where he's like, okay, I'm going to go from heel to face. But so like the Rock is like the worst part of the movie, but the movie itself, like it was really good. Like, I mean, this movie is extremely good, and Henry Cavill shows up at the end, like as Superman. So, I didn't know that was going to happen. So that was a nice surprise. So I won't give anybody any spoilers on it. And that's not really a spoiler because that's out. Like I knew that was going to happen. I knew there was going to be something.
Like, that could be a spoiler.
Well, I knew from just like being on Google, there was something Supermanish going on about it. So I knew that there was like some end credit scene or something like that reveal. Though I didn't think he'd actually be on the screen.
Yeah.
And it was only for like a half a second, but that part is, and it's got nothing to do with the movie itself, but that post-credit screen was interesting, but the movie itself was really good, so I would recommend people go see it.
Okay. It's a good recommendation.
But yeah, so you've been at your unlike myself, you've had your nose or your ears to the tracks and your nose to the ground this week. So what's going on?
I've got a bunch of stuff. Okay, so we'll start with Trump was subpoenaed. So he will have to testify for the January 6th committee, which I think a lot of us assumed that would eventually happen. And
he has precedent though now, because there's precedent though now because they threw Bannon in jail for 4 months, or they're going to. So he's gonna have to show.
Yeah. So yeah, he's gonna have to come, and I'm interested to see how that'll play out, because he obviously believes he's above the law, and I don't think that's gonna suddenly change. And I'm really curious to see how this will play out or what he does. But they did actually subpoena him, which I love. I'm glad we built for this all summer. I'm glad we got there. And so, yeah, so he has until the 4th of November to provide documentation. And he has to appear for deposition on the 14th of November. So he doesn't have a lot of time to get his shit together. So hopefully he does. But yeah, so I thought we'd start with that. Thought it was pretty good. If anybody has any feelings about that in the chat. But I'm glad I'm glad they finally did it. We had
TB
the
Cookies
evidence that needed to happen.
TB Cookies, thanks for the follow. Sorry, my second screen's a little bit further away from me today, so I had to look over to see what the name was. Hey MNG, what's up?
Kid. Hey.
Yeah, Kid. I'm going to say Kid next time, because MNG doesn't roll off the tongue as quickly.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I don't know about that. Like, when it comes to this whole Trump shit, I am super jaded. I'm just kind of the belief that nothing's ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, you had the SDNY stuff, you know, you've had multiple different things that the Trump organization's been in trouble. It seems like there's just like this unwillingness to go after this guy in any way. Like, when it comes to taking that final step, like first of all, they raided his house. Everybody's like, oh, it's coming now. I'm like, it's not going to come.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to come. And they're like, oh, but they don't just FBI raid anybody for nothing. I'm like, they apparently did for Rudy Giuliani, because I haven't seen a fucking thing yet. Irish Swede, what's up?
No, I didn't see that, but Irish, I love that news.
So Irish Swede is in the chat, and he said, well, you can go ahead and read. I'll give you that comment.
Oh yeah. Lindsay. He said, did you see all the inflation projections going to fall back to normal in 4 to 8 months? I thought we couldn't if there was a Democratic president.
Well, it'll fall back right after the Republicans take the House. So what'll end up happening is, even though this is what'll happen. So they already know the projections are, and Irish Swede, by the way, is a brilliant economist. So this isn't coming from just some person in the chat. This is coming from Irish Swede, who's been on the show, and he is a brilliant economist. And glad to see you're feeling better, brother, by the way. But what will happen, because Republicans are so good at this, is they'll say, yeah, well, so 4 months from now will be what? Let's say in the middle, 6 months from now. February. So it's November, December, January, February, March. So
6 months would be April.
Yeah, they'll be like, look, 3 months and off. All we needed was to have the House for 3 months. And just by having the House for 3 months and doing nothing, passing no legislation, we magically made it better, because we stopped the Democrat agenda. We stopped it in its tracks.
Okay, so I'm curious what you think, because the polls look like the Republicans will probably win big in November. But the polls have been incredibly inaccurate since 2016 and even 2020, like polling has not been as useful as it was 10 years ago or even 5 or 6 years ago. So do you think the polls are accurate, or do you think we've got to change how we sample things? We've got to change how we're collecting this data because it hasn't been accurate for so long?
I don't know how I feel about that, because I feel like, so I, after 2016, we obviously saw a big problem with the way the polling was done.
Yeah.
In 2018, however, the polling was correct. And like even in 2016, there's a lot of people who talk about polling and say the polling was fine everywhere except for in like
Oh,
5
thanks,
states,
Maggie.
right? Of course
Yeah.
you do, Mikey. You know, so it was wrong in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, or whatever, right? And that's a good point too, kid, because you know, but the the weird part is that like in 2020, when the presidential polls came out, I was of the opinion, and I talked about this on stream back then. I had a conservative guy come on the show, and we were just kind of like talking about the election beforehand and kind of like drafting states to see like who we thought was going to win. And we went over the polls, and I told him at the time, I said, I think, and this was in like a week before, 2 weeks before the election in 2020. I told him, I said, I think, dude, that there's about the polls are off by about 5%, I think is the number that I said. And I feel like there's a Republican skew to the off, right? So what I mean by that is
That's what I think too.
like it's always off 5 percentage points closer to the conservative side, because you have a lot of people who I think are uneducated. You have a lot of people who are Republicans and think they're going to get canceled if they answer these pollsters the wrong way. You know, you have a lot of people who are undecided and maybe like, you know, swayed by culture war shit. So,
Yeah.
you know, I just kind of feel like the polls are always skewed. So whenever I see a Democrat leading a poll, I assume that whatever like if it's an 8% margin of error, I'll be like, or I'm sorry, if it's an 8-point lead, I'll be like, okay, that's probably safe. But if it's a 1-point lead or a 2-point lead,
Oh,
I assume that we're actually down.
Yeah. But I
You
mean,
know,
like Kansas was completely unpredictable.
that's
Like
true.
that
In Alaska,
the polls did not show, yeah, in Alaska too. And that's what I'm wondering is the difference also is Roe v. Wade. And I think a lot of what I've seen living in a red state is Republican women are voting to save their reproductive rights or to protect them or to try to do that, but they aren't talking about it. Like they aren't going to say to a pollster, oh, I'm going to vote Democrat so I can have reproductive rights, because there is an expectation you vote a certain way if you live in this state, or if you're a Republican, or if you're of a certain religious persuasion. And so I think there are Republican, conservative, religious women who are going to vote in their best interest this election, but they aren't going to tell a pollster that. I just don't know what that margin is. Because yeah, we saw that in Alaska, we saw that in Kansas. So I'm curious what's going to happen.
I don't know. See, here's the thing, dude. I always just assume whatever is the worst thing is going to happen can happen. And
see, I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist, and I just get my heart broken every single time. I have like 2 days where I'm just like, oh, I can't even function.
I'm not, and it's not just with politics. Like I'm like this with everything. Like I'm like this with fantasy football. I just assume that if I'm up by 20 points on Monday night and I got a kicker going against me, I just assume that he's going to have the best day by a kicker of all time. You know, whatever can happen to be bad, I just kind of expect those things to be bad. And I think it leads me to be depressed and unfun, but like, I don't know.
I do the opposite, where I'm like, oh my God, you guys, we're going to do so good. And I like push and I push. And then after the election, I'll be like catatonic for like 2 days. And my husband's like, you okay? You're going to get out of bed. So I just do that cycle. So I don't know if that's better or worse. And then like I eventually rebound. So
That's a question for you, Lindsay. He's asking you a question there.
oh, for my layout?
Yeah.
For my layout for what?
Yeah, he's designing some stuff for this segment. Like artwork and stuff.
I like blues and greens.
There you go. Mate, she's got one blue eye and one green eye.
Actually, they're like a mix. So I do love those colors though.
Yeah, look at that. See, if it was just me by myself, Mikey wouldn't be asking us what artwork he can make.
Reddit.
Reddit.
Just do a real like burnt orange, make me look like a corpse. We could do that.
This is Trump skin. That's the name of the color. It's literally taken from Trump's hair. Iris Sweet says Blaze host Steve Deese. I don't know that Blaze host. Was defending Laura Logan's blood libel claim, and most of his followers were following right along. So that story I don't know about, though. Kind of circle back to the inflation. Like what I am curious though is the American Rescue Plan. So I was doing some research on the American Rescue Plan a couple weeks ago. As to the argument as to whether or not the American Rescue Plan helped add to the inflation, because I like to make sure that I have my story straight. So I'm kind of asking Iris Sweet this question and as well as talking. And what I was able to glean from multiple sources is that there is a range. Now, we know the American Rescue Plan added to inflation. The question is how much?
How much?
And I'm thinking it's somewhere in the ballpark of around 1.5% to 2.5%. But I have seen estimates that go as high as 4%. And I've seen other estimates that show as low as 0.1%, which is like, why bother talking about it? So I am curious as to that, as to like how much, because what's important is what's true, right? So like the American, as far as I'm concerned, if you go back to 2008, like obviously the Obama administration was able to bring us out of the Great Recession, but it didn't happen in a day. Like it took a while. And Obama did not give out a lot of stimulus money. I think if I remember correctly, he was under $1 billion. He was under $1 trillion in like subsidies and bailouts and stuff like that, money to consumers. Where since 2020, under CARES and American Rescue Act and the rest of the COVID packages that we've had, I want to say we're at like 4 or 5 trillion. Maybe it was like, I think CARES was 2.2 and American Rescue Act was 2. So maybe that's like 4.2 trillion. And that, the way that I understand it, has added more to inflation. But on the other end, we have more people back to work now, right? Yeah. So we're back above the pre-pandemic numbers as far as like where we were with joblessness. There's like literally 8 million people who were out of work in May of 2020 who are back working now, and that is a very, very, very fast recovery as far as that part goes. Okay, so here we go. Lindsay, I'll let you read Irish Swede's words because
all right.
Hey, TB Cookies.
66% of inflation is due to supply chain. SF Fed working paper as source. The remaining 33% is coming from the 2.3 trillion of personal savings during 2020 and 2021 being tapped for spending now. Yeah, that's what I was going to. That's what I've been reading is that, you know,
everything is getting more expensive, yet my wages are staying the same. Although no, that part is exactly true as well. Though wages did go up a little bit like a year ago. That's not to say every person's wages went up.
It depends on the sector.
Yeah. Right. That's true. Like I think mean or median wages, one of the two, went up like a year ago pretty substantially. but like
Not in hospitals.
oh no, but you guys were the ones who like deserved it the most because like your hours went up like 100%.
Yep. And the hospitals were like, have my unit gave us baggies of goldfish, not even like individual baggies of goldfish. Like they took a box and poured it in a baggie like we're kindergartners. And they put up a sign that said, the happiest creatures are goldfish. So please try to forget what happened your last shift and just move forward. Also, you're not getting a raise. Anyway, it was fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Real wages fell by 4%. So for those of you on Twitch, you're not able to see the comments coming in from YouTube. So I'm putting the YouTube comments up on the, and again, those numbers are not coming from some random listener. They're coming from a random listener who is also an economist. But like it's, I think that you could criticize the Biden administration a little bit for like maybe some of the size of the American Rescue Act. Like, I guess you could be reasonable and say, instead of 2 trillion, what if it was 1.4 or 1.5 or something? I think criticism like that, discussion like that is meaningful, productive, honest discussion. Not to say it will be right or wrong, but like what you get from conservatives is like $1 handed out to a person, always bad. $1 handed out to a company, always good. And it's like this.
I'm sorry. You had 2 aortic dissections. Like, you are immortal, sir. You are immortal. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, good for you.
And he's back kicking ass and taking names now. So
oof, I've seen aortic dissections. That shit's nasty. Mm-hmm. Sorry to interrupt you. I just saw that, and the nurse in me, I was like, oh, like those are hardcore. Congratulations on being immortal.
The funny thing is like he'll probably die from like the microwave blowing up or something.
It'll be like something
heating
totally
up, heating up his mac and cheese.
Like a squirrel bites him, and like it's some weird super bacteria that we cannot treat. It'll be something totally random.
Yeah.
Like a paper cut with like Ultra MRSA.
Someone will walk in his house tomorrow, shoot him with a machine gun. He'll just get up like, Superman.
Yeah.
Like, like Tupac or Superman, one of the two. Same.
Yeah.
Kind
of
same.
Just bend.
Yeah.
Bend the metal.
And then he dies.
Twist the gun.
Dies of a paper cut.
Mm-hmm.
That would be completely the way that it should go.
Yeah.
But but no, in all honesty, Irish Swede, we're glad you're good, and obviously your economics opinions have always been fascinating on this show. He's done a few shows with us. He's done some shows on socialism. We did a show on Venezuela. He's been in the chat for a couple of other shows where we talked about economics. I don't really get into economics too much because I'm not an economist and I don't understand. I don't have a full in-depth understanding of economics. I know enough to talk about it on a rudimentary level, but when it comes to like what always impacts this or what often impacts that or elasticities and, that sort of thing, I'm too easily screwed up. Right. So like, I'll get it wrong and like say, I might even be quoting one fact and say it right. And then my next fact could be completely wrong because I amalgamated it with the last thing. So I try to tread carefully on that. But I did see that the right wing was going crazy again, though, because Biden is releasing another 15 million barrels of oil over the next, I believe, 15 days and million a day. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene went on and tweeted that he should be impeached for this.
This is surprised she didn't say like murdered.
She might have said that on Truth Social.
Yeah,
but she didn't.
Well, I was going to say it's only a matter of time before, like, my bar for her is in hell. So
she's like I don't understand how, like, Marcus Flowers is a really, really well qualified candidate.
yeah.
Like, he's a veteran. He's a brilliant guy. He's charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard criticisms of him from other Democrats that he takes up all the air in the room when he's there. Like, but outside, like, that's not really, so what? That's not his fault.
I mean, if
Yeah, but
that's a flaw. That's a flaw we can live with.
the sad thing is like, how fucked up is that district that you have a overqualified candidate and that lunatic, and she's going to win by like probably 15 to 20 percentage points.
Yeah. Oh, you're telling me that I live in Idaho. Like, I could like start listing districts where we have incredibly qualified Democrats. Like, I mean, you talk to Natalie, but we have Bob Solomon, we have Nate. God, I can't remember his last name. Anyway, we have all these people. They're teachers. They work in schools. They volunteer in their community. They are really well versed politically. They are really engaged with voters. All of these really amazing things. They would be amazing legislators. And they're running against people who are absolute morons. Like Bob Solomon, for instance, is running against someone named Tammy Nichols. She's honestly dumb as a box of rocks, but she's a useful idiot. And so she just keeps posting all these QAnon memes and stuff on Facebook, and people eat it up, and she's going to get reelected. She's honestly a fucking moron, and she's going to get reelected. And it just like kills me that we can't get these people who would be thoughtful. Like, I don't agree with them about everything, but they're very thoughtful. They're engaged with the community. They want to work to make government work for the people. And I think that's a problem around the country. And it just frustrates me to no end that these very qualified people can't get elected because we have these absolute morons who will say whatever, the latest QAnon bullshit is, or the latest culture war, or whatever, to get everyone all worked into a frenzy, and they get reelected.
Yeah, it's qualifications for office it's funny how, like, they'll talk about how AOC is underqualified, which she's not, by the way.
No.
And constitutionally speaking, there's no such thing as underqualified. The Constitution is very clear that it's basically all you have to have is age.
Yeah.
But I thought they loved the Constitution. I could have sworn I heard that somewhere before.
That's the sheen they use to cover their Christian nationalism. So
it is absolutely right. I love how it looks like our microphones are coming out of like the same spigot there. Yeah, I just realized that.
We didn't do that on purpose, but look, we are super professional on accident.
Yeah, I moved mine a little bit, and I'm like, oh, that actually looks normal. But like they love to like rip on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and like, Rashida Tlaib and, the rest of the members of the squad and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And like, you look at Lauren Boebert and you're like, how are you like missing that? Like, how do you see that side of the room and not the part that's like directly right in front of you?
Yep.
Stay in your box. I'll stay in my. There will be no more ponytail sniffing on the show. Yeah, see, she's getting it away from me this time. Irish Swedes with some more economics. I'll let Lindsay read those. So you got 3 more comments.
I was going to say here. Oh man, it's a whole book. Here we go.
Yeah.
So the price of oil is interesting because most of the fall off of production in 2021 was due to the Russia-Saudi price war, sending oil to $30 BBL. That's not Brazilian butt lift. And American drillers need 75 to 85 to be profitable. Just clarifying. BBL means different things to different people. So you had this period of time where zero capital was flowing into the new wells, which is why production fell by 2 million BBL per day. So Republicans are talking about Trump's gas prices that was really driven by foreign actors, both of which are mostly hostile towards the U.S. Yeah. I was going to say, this isn't, I hope someday that we get to a place. No, I shouldn't hope this. I'm going to be disappointed again. But I hope we could get to a point where people realize that gas prices are minimally affected by the president, except for in very specific circumstances. But he's just the easiest person to blame. But we're acting like there's not a war going on between Russia and Ukraine, and it like issues with Europe and what they've done with Russian oil, and like there's so many factors, but we're just gonna blame Biden.
Yeah, and like I don't see that the money that's like they complain about the money going to Ukraine, and like look, I am not thrilled about every dollar that goes to Ukraine as well, because I know that if Ukraine was filled with people that didn't look like me, we would probably not send them as much money.
Yeah.
I understand that that is true. We're totally fucking ignoring what's happening in Iran right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know,
well, look at what we did with Turkey. Like in Yemen. We don't even talk about Yemen.
No, we actually make things worse.
Yeah.
You know, but like it's with Ukraine, it's like we don't have any drones there. I mean, obviously it's closer to the USSR and like, you know, or to Russia, I mean, and you know, obviously they don't want to piss Putin off too much. Like I get that it's different, like yeah, than as far as like the threat of escalation. I understand those things, but like it's at the same time, like you've got women being killed in the streets in Iran for not putting something over their face, you know, and people on the left are not talking about this. We're not talking about it at all. And I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about Ukraine, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't support the Ukrainian people, you know, and try to help these refugees that are coming out of there. But there are refugees coming from that need to get the fuck out of Iran as well. You know,
and so Syria, we've never like that's been going on for how many years now, and we're all just like like that's
we were talking about this during the Obama administration.
Oh, BBL short for barrel. Thanks, Irish Swede. Not Brazilian butt lift.
No, yeah, well, two things can be true at once.
You weren't telling me about the economics of the Brazilian butt lift.
Yeah,
we can do that on another episode.
We know what caused inflation now. Brazilians and their butt lifts. It's over. We figured it out.
Kim got hers removed. So now, like, what's going to happen to the market? We don't know.
Hey, Ollie, man. That brings up another thing. Kanye West. I was in a, I don't want to talk a lot about this, but I do want to bring it up. Like I was in a Twitter space yesterday that was, I would say,
oh, good for you, Irish Swede.
It was definitely
you have a good aorta and a nice roundy butt.
Jesse, thanks for Jesse W79. Thank you for following. Welcome to the chat. I know you're here for her, not me. So I'll shut up soon, Jesse. I promise. But like I was in a Twitter space yesterday with I would say 80% of this room was 100% of the room was on the right, though not on every issue. It was a really weird room because it was kind of one of those, like it was a conspiracy theory room, but also like an ADOS room. And ADOS, for those the uninitiated, American Descendants of Slavery. Like they were very hostile towards Jewish people in general in that room. And I was like trying to combat some misinformation in there. And like, I'm also at the same time, though, I'm not going to go into a room full of like 80% African-American people and then pretend like I'm, you know, like be the guy who's, wait, hold on a second here. I know better than you. Like, you know what I mean? Like I treaded the water very, very, very lightly and tried to stick to facts. But I found it very alarming that you had 20, 30 people in a room and they're like no, we're the real Jews. And like they're like, look up the word look up the word Semitic, and then they're like pulling up these dictionary terms, and I'm like, right, but you have a group of, even if what you are saying is true, you have a group of people who have been marginalized, discriminated, thrown into gas chambers, et cetera, and you don't want to open up the box towards allowing oppression or discrimination towards a group of people because you feel like hundreds of years ago they replaced you as the original Jews, even if your facts were correct, which I'm not saying they are or not because I don't study that stuff. But like they're like, well, fuck them. We'll be as anti-Semitic as we want to be because they're not the real Semites. And I'm like, so you're saying that because the people alive today are identify as Jewish, but but years ago you were replaced by 100 generations ago by this group, that now it's okay to exterminate them? That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, it was, I said, I don't want to dwell on this, but like I found it very odd that they were like so pro Kanye. Because if you ask me, Kanye has mental problems and needs help.
Yeah.
You saw what was going on with him over the years, and even recently when Pete Davidson was dating Kim, and he's like telling people to smash him on the side of the road, Kim Ye forever. Like, what are your whole thoughts on like the Kanye West conversation?
I mean,
you're right, Mikey.
The issue is he obviously has signs of mental illness. We all know this. He's talked about it. And mental illness does not cause anti-Semitism. Like mental illness can exacerbate, it can lower inhibitions. When you're manic, you're more likely to say things you probably wouldn't say if you weren't. But it doesn't cause that. So he has mental illness, but we also have to recognize he has gotten a pass for a lot of things, for being an artist, for being renowned for his music, for being, breaking ground in fashion. All these things that he's done that have been positive have gotten him this pass to also do these things that are very, very negative. And I mean, when what's her name called him out about what he wore with Candace Owens and the White Lives Matter sweatshirts, she was actually very, very congenial about saying, hey, we have to thoughtfully critique what's happening. Like, we can't just say Kanye wore this sweatshirt. Because there are moral implications to what he does, we have to discuss that. And we do a disservice when we don't. I thought it was a very well thought out, very, very neutral position to take. And he absolutely went after her. His followers went after her. They tore her apart. And I think that should show us like what is happening, and that we've reached a point where we do have to have these moral discussions about what he's doing. You can appreciate his music. Multiple things can be true at the same time. He can be an amazing artist, and he can also be perpetuating a lot of problematic things. And we have to talk about that. And we have to have these discussions, because if we just continue to say like, oh, Kanye did this and Kanye did this, and we don't give any moral explanation to what's going on, or say like this is problematic because of this, it's giving him a pass to continue that behavior.
I'm laughing for those who don't know, because Mikey hates the statement two things can be true at once. Like, it is his kryptonite, and it's because like
hey Mike, you want to watch a Trump video with me? We can dissect it.
Yeah, and Kid says Ye is spinning really fast and needs help. It's people around him that aren't looking out for him. And also said earlier, let me go back to your last comment here. Oh,
no.
hell freaking no. They are agitators, talking about the people in the room. They're agitators and Russian ops. Some black people are pissed that the YT Jews, I'm not sure what is YT. I'm not sure
White?
what YT is.
I gotta, I think it's
Oh, yeah, it
white.
might be white. Yeah, white
Yeah, it's just
Jews.
white,
Okay,
white.
yeah. White Jews. I thought it was YouTube Jews. I'm like, so
No, it's white.
the YouTube Jews have been, they're the problem. That the white Jews have been able to buy into the American system and exclude the black Jews here, right? And like, so
Yeah.
like, and part of the thing is like we use the term anti-Semitic, and one thing that I came out of that space thinking about was that maybe when we use the term anti-Semitic, it's because Semitic is broader than like
Yeah. Oh, it's the whole
what,
region. It's
right?
not just
Yeah,
that religious faith tradition or yeah.
right.
They're not
So
wrong.
like, right, and so like it's but they are wrong because they're using the fact that like it's like saying like in the 70s, if you were to say like, "Ooh, this shit is bad," like meaning it's good, like, "Oh, well, bad in the dictionary says this, so therefore you think that whatever you said was actually good," and it's like that I'm maybe willing to give some slack on the fact that the term anti-Semitic may not be the most pinpointed term to use for
Yeah.
racism towards Jewish people that are that have been targeted by this lately, because like they're saying you had people at the same time talking about how Jewish people run the country and they're all rich and like there's this big cabal and everything like that, and then at the same time saying, but I'm the Jew. So like you're saying fuck the Jews out of one side of your mouth, and then I'm a Jew on the other side of your mouth. So which thing is true? So it's like I'm telling you, my head was spinning, and I'm like, and like I said, I was trying to be like non-combative as far as like making it about me telling you that you're wrong and just like kind of sticking to facts, because I know that like as a white guy in that environment, that's not my place to do that. But I was there, and to be quiet is also not an option because silence is complicity. So it was this interesting situation for me. And most of the people there were fine, but like, and a couple of people reached out to me afterwards and said they'd like to talk about that stuff. But for the most part, it was just like, oh yeah, Kanye's trying to put game on people, and Kanye's trying to tell people the truth, but they don't want to put down their history book. And like one person even said to me, "You probably think Christopher Columbus is a hero," and I'm like, so now we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like we literally did a video on Christopher Columbus like 2 weeks ago, talking about how this guy's a fucking monster. Like,
well,
I'll agree with you that this history book, which we'll read from later, is a fucking mess.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean
and
go ahead.
Oh, I say, and like you said, two things can be true at the same time. I couldn't help it. I won't say it again. Maybe I will. But like you said, Semitic has meant lots of things, but we've gotten to the point in our society where anti-Semitic means a very specific thing. Just like when you try to go to the bathroom, you're like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And your teacher's like, "That's not how you ask." We understand that now. Like it is understood within language that this is what this means. Just a little like to make it about me though. When people are saying they're Jewish. So I was raised Mormon, and Mormons believe that they are also part of the house of Israel. And so when you're like 13 or 14, you get a special blessing, and it's called your patriarchal blessing. And they tell you which house of Israel you're in. And everyone secretly wants to be the... Yeah, no, I got Ephraim. Everyone's Ephraim. It's boring. But everyone wants to be House of Judah. Like if you get that, you're like, oh, you got that's the Gryffindor of Mormonism. And so almost nobody gets it. But people they'd be like, I'm House of Judah. And then they'd be like, so I'm Jewish. And so like Mormons feel like they're like, we're like cousins of the Jews. And some of us are actually like Jews. And that's really problematic on so many levels. But so Mormons are like super, like you would see people and be like, oh yeah, I'm Jewish. And it's like, hey, best friend. Like you feel this kinship with them that they don't feel because they're like, what's wrong with you, you weirdo? But
I did not know that.
Like, yeah, so that's just like a fun little, like, Mormons also think they're Jews, kind of, some of them. So only if you're like the Mormon Gryffindor.
Harry Potter, art imitating life.
Mm-hmm. So
Isn't that
anyway,
amazing?
some Mormons also think they're Jews. They're not, but they think they are.
Boy, that is very, very interesting. I had no idea that they did that within Mormonism. Like, I know a little bit about Mormonism, but like, and I will tell you, I know a little bit about Mormonism. And I know a little bit about just from having a background in religious studies. I know enough to be dangerous about that and about the Jehovah's Witness faith. And I'm going to be super honest with you here. I always amalgamate the two because like I have a hard time in my head. I know they're completely different things.
Yeah, but they're
I'm aware
similar.
that
They're similar.
This is a Jason problem because I conflate them by accident because I'll like I'll say to someone, you know, well, this sect believes in the 144,000, you know, and this will go to heaven, and I'll say the wrong one because I'm like, I'm not thinking, you know what I mean? So, oh yeah, that's a big one. So, but it's a long comment from TB.
That's real. Cookies. Yes. Also, magic underwear. They don't give that to the 14-year-olds though. Just the fortune telling, house sorting blessing. You get the magic underwear when you're a grown up. So.
TB Cookies, it is true, though, that aesthetics and morality are separate normative categories. That is absolutely true. For instance, a work of art might be aesthetically valuable, and simultaneously depict immoral activity, murder or something. Two things can be true at the same time. See?
Two things can be true at the same time, Mikey.
See? Mikey can be a jerk and a genius at the same time.
God. Yeah, see? No, and I agree. I absolutely agree with that. And even like art can be provocative. And I think a lot of Kanye's music is provocative in a way that is useful artistically. And there are things we also have to at some point say, is this useful or is this now problematic? And those are judgment calls we have to make. And we can disagree about that. I think those are discussions we have to have where if somebody says, I think this is problematic, let's talk about it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think that's how Kanye and Candace are using it.
No, Kanye and Candace, because we know that they're dishonest actors.
No. Oh, and Candace came out and was saying like the actual racists are the people wearing Black Lives Matter shirts. Oh my God. Like.
So then by default, wearing a White Lives Matter shirt would also be racist by your own definition.
No, because she was countering it. No, because it's immoral to wear. She was saying it's immoral to wear that.
So she was wearing it sarcastically?
No, it's moral. It was moral to wear the White Lives Matter shirt to counteract the Black Lives Matter shirt. That's what she was saying. And then did a whole like, it got really bad.
I'm gonna put on a Trump hat and I'm gonna do it sarcastically.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, it would be like if you did I was like, the logic doesn't make sense. I mean, that's her baseline, but it was the whole argument was awful. There are some amazing takedowns of it on TikTok, though. Some people really just like did the work.
TB Cookies, that's awesome because I also I won't say that I work in psychology, but my degree was in workplace psychology. So industrial organizational psych. So like I am not a psychologist in any way, shape, or form. I know a little bit about like workplace behavior and how people, you know, the psychology within the workplace. But what what I see within like groups, like in group, out group psychology is fascinating to me. And philosophy. I apologize. I don't have my glasses on. I thought I read It's Far Away. You
Pharmacy?
got to forgive me. Yeah. Yeah, pharmacy. She works in pharmacy philosophy. Yeah. No, but I promise you I misread what you said. It's like so far away. But so now the but the in-group out-group stuff, it is fascinating to me, and it's like they like there was this interesting, and we'll get off this because I said I didn't want to talk about this too long, but like there was one lady in this group who had said all of Kim Kardashian's kids were in vitro, right? They were all born by surrogate. And I was like, and one of the other people in the group was like, well, one of the other guys in the group was like, were they really? I thought I saw pictures of her when she was pregnant. And I'm like,
Yeah,
wait a
she
minute.
got pregnant
I'm
once.
yeah, and I'm thinking about this, like, and I'm like,
well, and
no, I don't think that's
in vitro
correct.
doesn't mean you wouldn't get pregnant. In vitro just means it's conceived in a test tube and then they put it in you.
Yeah, hers were born by surrogate, right? So
yeah, she was pregnant once though, wasn't she?
So I looked it up after the comment and a few different places, and it was 2 of them were surrogate and 2 were not, right? And like it doesn't matter. Who cares?
No.
Number 1. But like she used it as this way to like clearly be derogatory. And like, but one of the people in the group was like, oh, and he said this with his own mouth. He was like, well, I don't know what I was seeing then. I saw some pictures of her as pregnant, and like I could have sworn she was. So I don't know. Maybe what I saw was fake. And I'm like, and I kind of brought that up. I was like, if I were to tell you guys this, or that Melania had Barron by surrogate, what would you tell me? They're like, oh, well, that'd be a lie. So it's like, so you're prone to believe it about that you may not like.
Yeah.
But if I say it about Melania, who you worship, no, can't be true.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Oh,
and it's
yeah,
like,
it's that. Yeah.
So that part of it is fascinating to me. Just like, and that's not to say
I agree,
that we're
Mikey.
not. Yeah, that's not to say that we're not like also guilty of that. Though just not when it comes to like damaging things to society, right? Like so.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely. And for those of you who have interest in that, about if you go back on our YouTube videos, we did a video on Schadenfreude, however you say it, Schadenfreude.
That is a sweet, sweet emotion. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a petty bitch, and I love me some Schadenfreude.
Yeah, but and in-group and out-group bias. It was an interesting video. We did it. It's in our back catalog if you ever want to watch that one. Because it's the dynamics there are quite interesting. But anyway, we'll push forward. Lindsay has more to talk about.
I got some news. I saw this article. It's starting to make waves, but it's just really interesting. So I thought we could talk about it. Oh, wait, maybe I know how to do this. Maybe I don't. There we go. Yes, I do. Maybe.
What are you trying to share?
I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, I think I did it. Here we go.
Yeah.
This one. Okay.
Oh, goody.
Did I do it? Okay.
You did it.
So this is from the Federalist. It was written by John Daniel Davidson. We need to stop.
You're a problem when you use all 3 of your names.
I know. When your mama named you 3 first names. So we need to stop calling ourselves conservatives. Ooh, this is wild. When I tell you, I screamed, and then I made a TikTok about it. So the conservative project has failed, and conservatives need to forge a new political identity that reflects our revolutionary moment. So this is going to be good. Okay, so he starts off, the conservative project has largely failed and it's time for a new approach. There's never a new approach in politics. Like, you're just repackaging bullshit. And we know where we're going with this. Conservatives have long defined their politics in terms of what they wish to conserve or preserve, which I would just like to say, when do we look back on history and say, the group that was trying to conserve what they had, they were the right ones? We never do that. That's never, you think, somebody said that to me when I was so conservative, and it like changed my life. I was like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. So when people to this day in 2020 are so like, we're trying to conserve what? Conserve what? Let's see. So they're trying to defend our rich traditions and
They're certainly not trying to conserve water or our environment.
No, absolutely not. Burn, baby, burn.
Isn't it an interesting fact to when you think about the fact that conservatives are anti-conservation?
Oh, I know. No, and they don't care. Like, they don't care at all. It is a cruel irony. It is, like many things in our country right now, just a cruel irony. So they're trying to get rid of the constitutional system, because that's what the left always says, is they're like, you know what sucks about this country is the Constitution. So then he goes on or he talks about, back in the day, in the good old days, make America great again. In our lifetime, we've lost marriage as it was understood for thousands of years, which is absolute bullshit. I'm sorry, John, David, what is your name? John. Unless you paid a dowry for your wife, or there was some like strategical political alliance that you were married to your wife for that, or potentially polygamy, or you purchased your wife, or like for the good of the town you guys were married. There is this mythos of thousands of years of traditional marriage is absolute bullshit. Also, apparently we no longer have. Oh, what did Mikey say? You married your wife for the dragon. See, like, Mikey, you're promoting traditional marriage, Mikey. Look at you. We appreciate that. We appreciate someone who promotes, traditional marriage. Apparently, we also don't have a First Amendment. Our borders apparently just like don't exist anymore. There is no genders anymore and no rule of law, supposedly. All super accurate statements. So he says, to try to say that you'd want to conserve something since we've lost everything would say like you're trying to conserve medieval European traditions of arranged marriage, which we don't have. So obviously he knows marriage hasn't stayed the same, or trial by combat. But they're dead. So whatever. Western civilization is also dying. We got the dog whistles all throughout. And we've got, there's no family values because, everybody can't afford children because of late stage capitalism, but it's fine. It's actually the leftists.
That one irritates me more than any is when people talk about family values.
Oh,
because I know. When I was a kid, when I was in church, when I was going to church, they talked about family values a lot, not a rot. It is a rot, but they talked about this a lot, and it usually had to do with like obviously the religious aspect of it, which you were in church, so that part's to be expected. Okay, so it's like I'm not expecting a church to say that church is not part of the family value. That would be weird for them to say that. So I'll leave that part to the side. But the rest of it was like, making sure that you took care of your kids, to love your neighbor, all of these benign and at the worst benign and for the most part benevolent types of things. Nothing was like vicious. Now there may have been vicious pieces that I as a kid did not see or did not recognize at the time, and I'm not saying that those pieces weren't there. I was a young kid, so I didn't really see those things. What it seemed to have been added to it is now they've decided to add to it that that sex is a part of it. Like, and well, and when I say sex, I'm talking about biological sex, because we know the
Oh
church
yeah.
has always been against physical sex, right? Like they just,
Yeah.
the church
Yeah.
is
They
just
use that
not
to
a fan of
control
physical
people. Yeah.
sex,
Yeah.
unless
Unless
it's
in a
being
very
done
controlled, specific way. Yeah.
specifically to have a baby, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of Christians who are like, you should only have sex if you're trying to have a child. And other than that, like it shouldn't be engaged in. Paul said this himself. Paul had said something, and this won't be a direct quote, but in general, he said, if you're able to contain yourself, it's better to not have sex because it's just a distraction, is more or less paraphrasing what he said.
Yeah.
He didn't go so far as to say that marital sex is a sin. He just said, maybe not a good idea. You should probably
Yeah.
focus on other things rather than the wants of the flesh, even towards one's own wife. So, but now they've added all these other things to it, like, you know, like and all of it is to this one man, one woman thing. And I guess like before, maybe they figured it was just assumed that
Yeah.
people would think of it that way. So they've added that to it. But like that was, if you're a gay couple and you raise your kid and you're a good parent and you love your neighbor and you teach your kid good values, like, don't steal, don't, you know, treat people with respect, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Work hard, take care of your family, do your best. You're saying that those people are immoral because of who they lay down with at night.
Yeah. No, exactly. Well, and that's what, yeah, they have to have that boogeyman to fight against. And so just saying, and even within that traditional marriage, like there's so much traditional marriage, there's so much that they don't discuss and don't talk about, like that this idea of this nuclear family that we have is very new
Yeah.
and has not been how people live. Like people lived as family units in groups. That are we just going to ignore the 60s with mother's little helper and rampant alcoholism? And it's not like that system was working for people, but we're going to pretend it was really good. And
spousal abuse,
traditional. Oh yeah. Spousal abuse. Women couldn't get credit cards, bank accounts, jobs. Like, yeah, it was legal to like beat and rape your wife. Like all of these things where it's like, it wasn't good, but it was good if you were a rich white man. And so they'd like to get back to that. So anyway, so the big baddie here is technology, because big tech, they call it, allowed people to interact with other groups. Like the internet has revolutionized how we interact with each other. And so where you used to just live in like your small town or your city, you only interacted with some people. Now that you can see the different ways people live, different values, and you can assess, is what I was taught best for me, or is there a better way to live, or do I connect more with these values? And they don't like that, because the more you're exposed to different types of people, the more you can empathize with different types of people. We can't have that and maintain conservatism. So they're mad at big tech and moral relativism caused by big tech. And so they are frustrated with that. It's causing an implosion of Western civilization.
Fuck that shit. I mean,
oh yeah, no, it's gonna get so much worse. It's gonna get so much worse.
Quick pause here. So again, Western civilization, another thing that is a dog whistle.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a dog whistle
for white supremacy. And like, and a lot of people, when they hear the term white supremacy, they think overt racism. That doesn't necessarily have to be what it is. It just means that you think that the culture that was created by European people, traditionally white Europeans, is a superior culture. It is the best way for people to live, and that should be pushed across the world. And that has intrinsic values into it. And that is, whether you think it is bigoted or not, it is bigotry.
Oh, it absolutely is.
If someone doesn't want to live the way that you want them to live, then and like the way that they define it is so unimportant. Like
Yeah.
women, only women can wear dresses. It's a piece of cloth. Who fucking
Yeah.
cares?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
it,
Exactly.
these gender roles and like it's, oh, the woman should be out of the house, or well, the man should be out of the house working and the woman should be tending to the home. That is the way that things worked in the past for the most part. That's the way people did it in antiquity and in more ancient times, in a lot of, but not in every single culture. And if you can
No.
find a better way to do it, if you are smarter than your husband, if a wife is better equipped to enter the workplace than the husband, but you still put the husband into the workforce. Think about that, Republicans
Oh,
who might be listening to the show. If you have two people in the house, a man and a woman, and the woman has $150,000 a year earning potential, and the man has $45,000 a year earning potential, you're going to two things. One, you're going to make that man feel like shit when he be maybe much better equipped to take care of the home, because his strength isn't the strength that you think it should be. And you're also, so you're going to tell the woman, don't use your skill, live
yeah.
poor, and never take a handout. But you should be at home taking care of the home, because that's what gender roles say. And the husband should be out there working, and forget about the fact that you could earn 3 times as much as him because you have a better skill set than he's developed in his life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and like we do that. I work full time. My husband works part time. He does so much better as a stay at home parent. I don't. I need that external like push. When I'm just home, I flounder. And so yeah, like it's this push for something that never did exist. It never existed. And this is the same thing that other fascist groups did, like the harken back to ancient Germanic tribes, and they were noble and the men were warriors and the women were like hardy peasant women, and they harkened back to this as we need to rebuild that, we need to blood and soil, like that was all of that narrative,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they're hearkening to.
Yeah,
What was I
you're
saying
right,
about the
Irish
connection
Swede.
between technology and moral relativism? So they were just talking about that technology has led to this moral relativism, that the big tech and access to all of this technology has caused moral relativism, and conservatives weren't prepared for that. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll head.
And for those who don't, and for those who may not know what moral relativism is, it's sort of it basically means that like there's no one way or absolute to between right and wrong, and like deciding which of those two things is right, whether one thing is right or one thing is wrong. It's for those who are not familiar with that particular term. Like, and technology, we talked about in the beginning of the show, technology has good and it has bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's good that I can check my house and see when Amazon dropped off the package. It's via my Ring doorbell. It's bad when they're using it to sell your data.
Yeah, exactly.
Two things can be true at once.
Mikey, poor Mikey. If you never would have told me, I never would have known. So now that I know Mikey, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So then he says that the conservatives need to start calling themselves radicals, restorationists, and counter-revolutionaries. And
oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it gets worse. Don't even you wait. Oh, it gets so much worse. This is when I started like screaming though. And he says, for inspiration, we need to look to the Pilgrims. And he knows. He fucking knows.
Heavens.
Because he says the iron-willed and audacious Christians. No, you know that they were extremists and they were upset that they couldn't force everyone else to live their religion. That he knows, but he's making it this, he's gilding the lily, if you will. Like he's trying to make it sound like something heroic. Again, back to these like mythos of our founding that are pretty ahistorical, but he's setting it up. People know that history of who the Pilgrims were, and he's saying, see, so it's totally okay for you. Or claim the mantles of revolutionaries like Thomas Jefferson. So again, harkening back to those founding mythos. And so he says we need to break from the past and forge a new political identity. And they need to break with the libertarians and the neocons.
Is this an important person?
This is kind of, yeah, he's written for the New York Times. He's kind of a conservative thought leader. I say kind of, like there's a lot of them. And so what he says, like you can look back, things that are shared on the Federalist are talked about widely in conservative spheres. That's why this is so problematic. It gets so much worse though. Let's see.
I can't wait.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Okay. So he says, to put it bluntly, we are going to have to rebuild and refound the country, and we have to get used to the idea of wielding power.
You know, here's the question that I want to ask this guy. Why does he hate America so much?
Exactly.
Like I thought that everything about America was perfect, and that any criticism of America meant that you hate America. I could have sworn that I've heard that somewhere before.
Exactly.
So I have one question for David, Mark, Anthony, John, Joe. Why do you hate America so much?
Yeah.
Kevin, Bob, whatever your name is.
Yeah.
Why do you hate America so much?
Yeah. And he says, accommodation and compromise with the left is impossible. They've tried obstructionism, starting with Newt Gingrich, and it hasn't worked. And their voting demographics are getting old and dying off. So we got to make this snappy. And he harkens to, he says, like, look at how fast gay marriage happened. Like, essentially, in the 90s, we could, and now look, they're married and happy. Yeah, it's not fast.
It took hundreds of years.
Yeah. Oh, it's not fast at all. But he's saying, like, it moved fast. So now we have to, again, setting the groundwork for whatever we have to do. We need to make this happen to save our civilization and traditions. We have to give up outdated and irrelevant notions about small government. And that conservatives are going to need to wield the government as a blunt instrument, which is fantastic. When they start talking about using the government to, just bludgeon their political enemies, we're on the right track. That is not groundwork for fascism or authoritarianism at all. That's great stuff.
And just a quick interjection there. They have it. Like, they're able to do it. Because unfortunately, the way that our Constitution, and this is why I think we need to rewrite the Constitution, not maybe the entire document, but at least
parts of it,
pass some amendments, is that geography is way too important in our Constitution.
Yeah.
Like, they break it down by state, and then on the state level, they follow that same idea, and they break things down to municipal or county levels. And like, when you have, if we were to take, like, say, North Dakota and South Dakota, and make it 4 states, Northeast Dakota, Northwest Dakota, Southeast Dakota, Southwest Dakota, they now have literally more power. I thought we were supposed to be a government of the people, but they have successfully realized, which Democrats have not, that the Constitution and just and some of it is state and in state constitutions has basically broken our system up into a place where a county with 7 people has the same voice, or almost the same voice, as a county with 1 million people.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can control the majority of the count, like they always show you that map and it looks like a Verizon map, you know, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, look at all the red areas and this is truly America.
Yeah.
No. It's like
Well, no, like
that's
Dutch, in your county, you have more people in your county than I have in my whole state. And we get 2 senators and you share senators. Like
Mhm.
that's where we're at. You know? Like it is so skewed. So my voice has so much more power. My vote has so much more power than yours does.
Exactly. And like you know, they'll say, "Well, yeah, yeah, but you only have one representative." I mean, that actually makes your representative quite a bit more powerful
Yeah. We
than
have
all of the
2
rest of the representatives. Well, you have two, but like Montana has one.
there.
You know, a
Yeah.
couple other states have like Alaska has one, and like you
I
know,
said that
right
we
now
had
the
2 like it was exciting. Both of them are dumb fucks, but we do have 2.
but like you also have two, but like you said, you also have two senators, right? So it's like
Yeah.
you've and like at the time when the Constitution was written, it was written because specifically for that reason. But
Yeah.
it wasn't written because of political parties. It was written because we're called the United States because it was the idea was is that we would be a bunch of states that would be united towards one goal.
Mhm.
Where I think that that the founding fathers, well, the framers, because the founding fathers and the
Yeah.
framers are different sets of people. Um,
Yeah.
the framers of the Constitution missed is that, and you can't really blame them for this particular screw up. They didn't know that political parties were going to rise in the way that they did, right? Like
Yeah.
the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists basically disagreed on the amount of power that should go to to the states and the amount of power
Yeah.
that shouldn't go to the states. That
Well,
was one of
and
their primary disagreements. They didn't disagree about
because they'd always
immigration.
used yeah, because they'd always used a parliamentary system, I don't think they fully understood that making a completely first past the post system means we can only have 2 viable political parties at any one time. Like everyone always is like Thomas Jefferson said not only 2 political parties, or George Washington said we should only have 2 political parties. And I'm like, well, he didn't understand political theory then because we literally can only have 2. So like we have to rearrange our system to be able to support more political parties.
I think in
So
general, in the long run, I am a supporter of multiple political parties, more similar to like
oh,
what they
I think
might
so
have
too. Yeah.
in the UK, and really everywhere. But like when we go throughout the world and we tear down governments and we build up democracies that reflect our own.
Yeah.
Lindsay, I'd like to ask you a question. In how many of
Okay.
those countries, those democracies that we've set up throughout the last, when did we start setting up democracies? Around the 40s. So, and
Oh,
what is that?
earlier than that.
80 years or so that we've really been doing
I say,
imperialism. Possibly before
oh,
that,
so you need to read How
but
to
how
Hide
many
an
times
Empire.
I need to read what?
How to Hide an Empire. It's so like so much more imperialism than you even think. Oh, it's so bad.
Oh, and I
Like
know there's a lot of imperialism, but so I'm sure.
so much and so much earlier even like 19th century. We were in it. We just talk about it differently and dealt with it slightly differently so that we could be like, oh, we did like we weren't like the UK,
Well,
but we
we've been
basically
doing it
were.
we've been doing it for the same. Well, okay, so you're correct, and we're talking about it and kind of on different sides of the same coin. But the um, like since the 40s, the U.S. has been,
Yeah.
you know, militarily, you know, fighting proxy wars and stuff like that, to try to set up democracies in, again, democracies, but
Yeah.
in places like the Middle East and in South America and stuff like that. How many of those democracies that we have set up did we implement an electoral college in?
Um I don't know exact. I would say maybe South Korea, but I don't know exactly the system that we helped set up.
We haven't set up any.
Um
Like we magically don't put the electoral college into their voting structure,
well,
you
it
know,
doesn't make any
because
sense. It literally
because the
helps
electoral
a
college is
minority
stupid.
maintain power.
And they tell you the opposite. They say, no, the electoral college prohibits mob rule.
Oh
It
yeah, oh, because there's a huge push on the right now to demonize democracy. They're constantly democracy's not good. We don't want democracy. Democracy's bad. Like that's a huge push.
And exactly. And like, again, why do you hate America? You don't like it, leave, go to Mexico.
Yeah.
You know, but like and Cookie says, you know, hates the notion of a political party. Like, I get that. Like, the problem is that where we're at right now, like, I don't hate Andrew Yang for trying to start a new political party. I hate the way he's doing it. It's just fucking archaic. But they literally have no position in the Forward Party. Like, I asked a Forward Party candidate her stance on healthcare. She's like, we haven't come up with that yet.
Yeah.
What?
Then
you haven't
get
come
out
up
of the way because you're not doing it.
Because there is a Forward Party candidate on the ballot in Utah for Congress, right? So a Forward Party member, a woman, I forget her name, she finished second, right? So she's on the general election ballot. She's going to lose, but like, I asked her, I'm like, why don't you come on the show? She's like, well, you're going to ask me what my positions are. So the Forward Party doesn't want to come up with a position because they're afraid. They're so interested in pulling in people from both sides right now and having more people in their party. And they know that if they take a position on certain things,
they're going to lose people.
They will lose people. And in fact, they don't even have UBI, which was like Yang's complete
That's like
idea.
The whole thing.
Yeah, they've dropped the UBI support from the Forward Party.
Cute.
After they merged with that other party.
Yeah.
They're a merger of like 2 or 3 parties now. But anyway, the point is, a third party right now, unfortunately, in this system is going to do nothing except for put that people are going to look at that. They're going to basically help the Republicans.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and we literally, unless we institute like ranked choice voting, we cannot support another political party. It just will not work. But you've seen how much the Republicans are fighting ranked choice voting, especially after the Alaska election. Because if we do that, we can sustain multiple parties. We can get candidates who are more progressive, like that don't just fall right in these kind of moderate left and moderate right. Well, I'd say they're all kind of, well, the right's way right, or moderate leftist positions. So
I'd be with you, Cookies. And like the last thing I want to touch on before I let you go back to your thing is anybody who thinks that the Democratic Party, just for anybody listening who might think it is, anybody who thinks that the Democratic Party is like a left party is absolutely out of their fucking minds. We might be left on our Overton window in the United States, according to that spectrum. But on a global spectrum, the Democratic Party in the United States is hardly on the left.
Oh, it's like moderate at best.
Yeah. Now you have people in it who aren't.
Yeah, but they're not. There's no other option.
Right. I mean, you can start a progressive party, but then what's going to happen? All of the 15%, 20% of voters that are of Democratic voters that are progressives are going to then go vote for the Progressive Party. Progressive Party is going to get that 14-15% of voters. And then the Republicans are going to still get their 52, 53, they'll win with pluralities, of 50 to 49.9 to whatever percent. And they'll just win that way. And like, so you have to take those progressive votes and put them into the Democratic Party. But then what ends up happening is we get drowned out by our own party. Because I live in California right now. I'm in a red part of California. I'm in Bakersfield, which is McCarthy's district. And like, we're Texas fucking red right here. Right. Like we're one of the most red counties in America. Getting less so, but nonetheless, but you look at California, is Newsom a progressive? Maybe on like 2 issues, right? No. But is Pelosi a progressive?
No.
Is Feinstein a progressive?
No.
Was Kamala?
No.
Is Xavier Becerra? Like,
no.
I go.
No, it's so. Because anyone
None of
who's a
them are.
progressive gets stamped out. Like you
There are literally
cannot,
none.
yeah, you cannot rise up in the Democratic Party and have any kind of voice or power and be anything but like basically moderate, like Republican light. Like that's what we have is we have Republicans, we have Republican light. And all the rest of us just have to get in line every election and they throw us a bone or two and then just say, well, like, well, you got to get in line for the good of the country. So yeah.
Right.
Okay. Are you ready to see what we have to get rid of? They're giving us their
Yes,
agenda.
yes.
You're
We
going to
got
love it.
no, I
It's
don't think I am.
fantastic.
I think I'm gonna love this as much as you love the Casper the Friendly Ghost origin story.
It is. It's going to be so good. That was, you know what? That was haunting. So you can't come back from that.
But Casper was
Yeah.
haunting.
It was so bad. Oh, I didn't even mean to, but look at me. I'm unintentionally punny. All right, here we go. So we need to get rid of big tech. So we need to get rid of, we need antitrust laws to break up Silicon Valley, which like I don't all the way disagree with. I think that's a discussion I'd be willing to have, but not in this context. And
agree.
John can go fuck himself.
Right.
We need to stop universities from spreading their poisonous ideologies. So we're going to have to start them, which is fantastic. And we have to get rid of no-fault divorce. So excellent, because women by and large file for divorce and we can't have those bitches be running away from traditional marriage. So
By the way,
no
that doesn't
more
exist. There's no
what?
such thing as no-fault divorce.
No.
Because
But
there's
just
always
the ability to file for divorce without like him beating you within an inch of your life or adultery, like
yeah.
that needs to exist. That exists in a healthy society. Okay, so here we go. They also need a dramatic expansion of the criminal code. Fantastic. With emphasis on abortion. So
I was wondering where they were going. Okay.
yeah, well, I mean, probably for anything.
That's a very broad statement. So like what does he mean by that?
Political opponents, women, LGBTQ people, transgender people, drag queens. You name it, just saying that people are like, yeah, I mean, it leaves room for you to think about the people you don't like and say, yeah, we should make that illegal. We need to criminalize that.
I wonder if anyone's ever looked at Jim Crow laws before.
These people haven't in a bad way. They looked at that and they're like, that they were right.
Well, yeah, but cat calls are kind of bad. Well, you're right. I think catcalling's kind of screwed up, but should we murder people for it?
Are you honestly asking them? Because not that, well, but women showing shoulders in public, probably a felony under John's rule.
That's so like I doubt that. And I'm going to tell you why. They have changed their position on sexuality of women lately. They are now like, and we talked about this a little bit on the Wednesday show. They are now the ones, and I say they are the conservatives who like are trying to save the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, right? Like we talked about, like, remember Megyn Kelly's show on Fox News? There was a reason why she had a glass desk.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think there's a difference between women that are being consumed and women that are your property. And so the women that are for consumption, absolutely, they should be marketed and dressed for consumption. But the women who are your property, they need to be covering themselves and being modest. So yeah, it's the whole like Madonna whore. You aren't going to get rid of the sex workers. That'll be fine. That'll still exist because men still want that. But the women who are your property, they best be covering up. So
it's
where we're gonna go.
Because like I see what you're saying. You raise a fair point. I think that they like to gawk at women, like these women who were attacking Amaranth, who was, I don't know if you saw that whole story.
Yeah.
But these not these women, I'm sorry, these men who were attacking Amaranth, and like they were focusing on the fact that she had, that they felt slighted because she never told, because they thought she was single and that they had a chance when she was doing her shower scenes. And then when they find out that she was being forced to do these things by her husband, and she didn't really want to do them, according to her words, that they missed the abuse part. Like they're like, no, we like to look at naked women. We like to look at half naked women. Like we like to turn on the 5 and see all those legs and high heels. You know
But
what I mean?
but they
And
do. I think you're underestimating how much they like to control women. That
oh no, I completely get that. It's
because
part of
there
it.
will. I think, like, I know Handmaid's Tale is problematic, but I think something that was done well is the narrative that there are the handmaids and the wives who are supposed to behave a very specific way, and then there are the women for consumption who those rules don't apply.
Well,
And
no, you're
so
fair point.
I think, I mean, I'm not saying his whole point of his article wasn't like throw women, in a hijab. That, wasn't the point he was getting to. But I
Oh, they
think,
would.
oh, they would, yeah. But I mean, like, from growing up in a very patriarchal religious society, there was two types of women, and the threat was, if you're not a modest woman, you will be a woman for consumption. And so that control, that the tension of that control, the conservatives love that shit. They absolutely want to consume women, and they want to control the women that are their property. And so I think
Hmm.
that tension would still exist.
Well, you would know better than me.
Unfortunately, we
Yeah.
can trade. I would love to. Yeah, I would love for you to know better
I'm not
in
interested.
that field.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. It's going to continue to be fantastic. So here we go. We're getting, like, we're 2/3 of the way through. Okay, so we need to be locking up anybody who takes their kids to a drag queen story hour. Like, my God, the fact that they cannot chill about drag queens.
They're obsessed.
Like, they think about it more than actual drag queens do. It's ridiculous. They want to charge them with child abuse. Doctors who perform gender affirming interventions should be thrown in prison. But what about like boob jobs or Brazilian butt lifts? Since we were talking about that
BBLs.
earlier. Those are gender affirming interventions. And should they go to prison, or do we like some gender affirming interventions? Anyway, they don't want to. I'm sure John wouldn't want to talk about that. And then again, like demonizing teachers. And he says, if that sounds radical, fine, but we need to be radical and revolutionary. So that here we go. Here's the paragraph that this should be the scariest paragraph you've read in a while. I'm going to read the whole thing. To those who worry that power corrupts and that once the right seizes power, it too will be corrupted, they certainly have a point. If conservatives manage to save the country, puke, and rebuild our institutions, will they ever relinquish power and go the way of Cincinnatus? It is a fair question, and we should attend to it with care after we have won the war. So, basically, we're going to take control. And if you have a problem with that or have a problem with us taking power, it's like, sorry, you're shit out of luck. So,
well, we just saw this. I mean, Trump certainly wasn't interested in, like, there was a lot of people who were like, should we elect a guy who might not want to leave power?
yeah.
You know what? Let's just do it. We'll deal with that later. Well, we dealt with it.
Yeah.
And he left reluctantly.
Yeah. But I mean, they're
know,
openly saying, I think we got lucky that time. Lucky. And they're openly advocating for, we just have to seize absolute control. So anyway, that's their fascist manifesto. I know, after the Riksdag fire, I know, seriously, that was, oh. And now, yeah, you're right, Irish Swede. Now everyone's talking about, oh, cancel culture. We're canceling her. It's because we've dismantled the First Amendment, is what happened. I think we lost touch. So anyway, that was fun. I made a TikTok about that because it's not every day we get a, fascist manifesto. Something that I think is also interesting while we wait for Dutch to come back is that we don't know who funds the Federalists. So people have done analysis, and they're like, the subscriptions they have do not cover cost. And so we do not know. You did that with your mind, Mikey. How does it feel to be the most powerful person on this thread? Here, I'm going to do that. Congratulations. But we don't know who funds them. So people who, they have rich donors. We have found a few very powerful rich donors, but the people who are donating to them wanted that to be written. Like, John didn't just pull that out of his ass. He was paid to write it. So there are rich and powerful people who want that message out there for conservatives. Oh, hey. Hey, Mikey.
Howdy.
Look at you. You're like a wizard over there.
I'm hold on. I got a light here. Wait. Oh, there we are. Good old dependable Dutch. That's what we call them.
Does this happen
reliable.
often?
Well, he's getting old. I think Dutch is about 63, 64 now. He looks good for his age, but
I was going to say, like, we'll have to hear what his secrets are.
he's just such a curmudgeonly old geezer. He might have taken a nap, fell asleep on his prunes. I'm not sure.
Oh my God. And then we just went there. We went all the way there.
Yeah, ageism. That's all I got on these guys is ageism. They get on me about my music, my hair, like my playing of video games. They just mock me. They just beat me down. All I can do is punch back with ageism for people I love dearly.
It's evergreen argument.
He's like 7 years older than me.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I think we're all similar age-wise. So
yeah, they're not even that much older, but I gotta do what I gotta do.
You gotta fight that fight while you still can. Somebody will be coming for you soon enough. So
well, and when that day comes, don't miss. Don't you miss. All right, let me get some lights on in here. I'm making your stuff for your stupid little show.
I know. What colors are you using?
I will show you.
I say you asked for suggestions, but I don't think you really wanted suggestions.
That's not so bad.
Oh yeah, I agree, kid. It's Koch brothers. There's that one guy in New York. I can't remember his name because he's funding the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Huge donor. So I'm sure that he's got a couple LLCs and groups, different, dark money sources he uses. But there's all kinds of rich people. That's the message they want out there. Is that an old Pizza Hut cup? My cup? No.
Oh my God. Pizza Hut cups are the best.
It's a Starbucks cup because
I can smell the
I gave
grease.
them money. Like, I know. Oh man, Pizza Hut in the 90s there's nothing like that.
It was an experience. I never felt more alive.
I was going to say, oh man, and you get that stuffed crust pizza and the cheese would pull like in the commercials. And then you got to play video games and get a gumball. That was ridiculous.
How's that?
Yay.
Internet. It just pooped.
How's that?
I know, you were just gone. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Kermit. Dutch is back. He had internet issues.
Does this
TV Cookies, Bloomberg? No, there's some guy. I'll have to look it up because I did a TikTok about him. He's kind of one of those, he's lesser known. I mean, he's not like Koch brothers where we're like, yeah, the Koch brothers. But he's some billionaire out of New York that funds a lot a lot of really conservative stuff.
You like?
Hello,
Wow.
Michelangelo.
That's
You
very
like?
cool.
Is this our new intro?
No, I gotta make an intro. Well, you guys gotta do more shows, so I have footage to make an intro video.
You only
Are
need
you
like
gonna
one
do, like-
show.
If your intro video has you in the same clothes, people are gonna start talking.
Am I wearing the same shirt I wore on stream before?
You're not listening to
Oh,
what I'm
man.
saying. You're reacting very quickly and very defensively. I understand that because I just made fun of your prunes. What I'm saying is, if I pull all of your clips from the same episode, so all of your arm waves, all of your hee-hees and ha-has, and you have the same fit on, people are going to be like, that is
same fit.
that is the fakest fucking intro I've ever seen in my life. Look at him pretending to laugh. It's not going to, it won't look right. It won't look right. It'll look like we made it with our left hand. And if you're left-handed out there, then you
I
have
trust you,
sometimes
Mikey.
change your ways.
Ooh.
We do.
Yes, Irish Swede. I do remember when Wendy's had a salad bar.
I remember that too. I liked the salad bar at Wendy's. I used to grab the cottage cheese.
You would eat cottage cheese off of a buffet.
Okay, does anybody remember Hardee's and their
Yeah.
cinnamon raisin biscuits with the frosting?
You mean the most epic breakfast?
I
ever.
was going to say, my dad was a manager at Hardee's for a little while, and we would get a huge like bag of that frosting and keep
Oh
it in
my
the
God.
fridge. I would eat that on everything. Like that shit slapped. That was the best.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever be as good as that was.
That's
They,
hard to describe right now.
it's yeah. I don't remember ever having that. I never liked raisins, so I would have
Oh,
avoided.
this is you would have liked this.
You could pick the
It
raisin
was
out, like the
good.
cinnamon in the biscuit. It was phenomenal. I don't know why they took that away.
Hardee's kind of like came and went in Chicago for a long time. Like we had Hardee's when I was a little kid, and then it was gone for 10, 15 years, and then it came back, and then it
Mhm.
went away again.
Hardee's
It just
Yeah.
hasn't.
all right.
Is Hardee's in Chicago right now, Mikey?
There's
I don't
like
think so,
two.
right?
There's like two of them.
There's
Yeah.
almost none. I don't know what happened to them. They were
Well,
the
we
best.
have them here. We have Carl's Jr., which is exactly the same thing.
It's,
And
it's the same thing. Yeah.
They're fucking everywhere, and they're expensive as fuck. By the
you
way,
want the best, you're
I-
gonna fucking pay for it.
I
big
don't
boy.
even know
No.
if we have those. We maybe have one. I don't even know. But they don't have the cinnamon raisin biscuits. Bring those back, Hardee's. The
or
hell?
else.
I
suffer the
know.
consequences.
shouts out to Hardee's. You have been issued a proclamation
Mhm.
by Her Majesty.
You should
I was gonna
Sure,
say
Senator.
I lived
shouts out.
I lived through a lot of shit during the pandemic. Can we get the cinnamon raisin biscuit, please? Thank you.
Oh, I always say shouts out instead of shout out. I've been saying that because like when I first so this is just a case of hearing something that's wrong and then it sticks in your head like
Yeah.
that the Metallica song. I always hear Amstel Light.
What an idiot. What idiot. What are you talking about? You fucking made a jingle?
But I don't know.
Back there. Dust was sitting on the hood of his fucking 1984 Camaro with his fucking jean jacket popped up.
My members only.
Members only. Fucking got his.
And you couldn't
fucking
look the
Vans.
lyrics up, so that's all you had.
No,
he had
I didn't
Chuck
have
Taylors.
a cell phone. I didn't
He
have a
had-
cell phone back then.
He had black scuffed up Chuck Taylors, and he would just like sit back with a Marlboro Red right out of his little jacket pocket and grab an Amstel Light and look out into the gorge and think
And
real
Swedes-
artsy stuff.
Swede's got the next line. There's a bathroom on the right. Pain in my head. Like I don't know why. Like I always, even when I hear that song today, I still think they're saying Amstel Light.
As soon as the chorus
That's
comes,
funny.
you just see Dutch go.
Okay,
And
Irish
then
Swede.
The
I have a
most
question
popular
for you,
one.
Since you're Midwest.
Mm.
Oh, go ahead. Finish that one.
Well,
Now I have a
the most
question for
popular
Irish
one.
Swede.
I'm blue. If I was green, I would die.
Stop
If
it.
I was green, I would.
Oh my God, are you serious? That's not real. Okay, I have to tell you mine really quick. And then my question for Irish Swede. The All American Rejects song, I thought it was Swing Swing from the Table Saw.
From the table
That's
saw
what
of my heart.
Yeah. Anyway, that was the one I didn't know. Okay, Irish Swede, since you're Midwest, do you know what caramel rolls are? I need to know. Does anybody know what caramel rolls are?
You just
People
made that
need to
up.
know what Irish Swede.
No. It's
You made
okay,
that
TV cookies. Do you know what caramel rolls are? That
Wait,
shit's
I don't.
elite. I need to know somebody else knows.
It's not real.
Never heard of that?
It's not
Oh
real.
my God.
You just
It's
made it up.
so
How will we
good.
know what it is?
Yeah, well,
It's
it
so
didn't- No
good.
pictures. It didn't happen.
No, you can't
Yeah,
eat a cinnamon roll after you've had a caramel. Yeah, Irish Sweet. Wait, are you saying, oh, yeah, you know, or oh, yeah, you don't know? I need to know. It's not specific,
know.
Irish Swede.
I need to know. You just made that up. We're way
No.
more in the Midwest than Swede will ever be, all the way out in Nebraska.
I was gonna say, maybe it was a Montana thing, but okay, Irish Swede knows. Okay, they
There you
are
go.
amazing.
There you go.
Oh, see,
Bill.
okay, yeah, caramel rolls, mom made. Yes, it's so good. Oh, we make them for breakfast for Christmas. Like I make like actual bread from scratch to make caramel rolls for Christmas every year. That is like the best thing ever. That would be my last meal if I was on
Is that
death
the
row.
stuff that people
Caramel
use to make
rolls.
monkey bread?
No, that is a sad, sick imitation.
How dare you? That's all we had in Midwest was monkey bread.
It's fine.
Monkey bread
It's okay.
Monkey bread is good, though. I always pick the walnuts out.
Yeah, no, caramel rolls are like sometime I'm gonna make caramel rolls. I'll show you guys. It's like too good. It's elite. It's the best.
No
It's
idea what
I-
you're talking
the
about.
best.
I
food.
know. I do know that when I used to go to Cinnabon, though, like you were talking about the frosting, when Cinnabon was like in its heyday, and like it was only at the mall, and it was like, okay, you know, there were certain places at the mall. Like I was a dorky kid, right? So like when I would go to the mall, there were certain places that I was like, I got to eat at. I got to
Circuit
eat
City.
at. Circuit City was
Fucking
fun
nerd.
fact on
Fucking nerd.
Fun fact on Circuit City. When Circuit City went under, I bought like 1,500 shares of Circuit City for like 3 cents each. I thought I was going to be a fucking millionaire when they came back. And
How'd that go for you?
it didn't go particularly well. Thank you for asking. Though I was driving the other day, and there was like some guy had bought a Circuit City trailer and didn't bother to repaint it, so it still said Circuit City, like driving down the middle of California. But
I'm not.
But when I used
the paint costs more than the damn trailer.
it sure as shit does. But when I used to go to the mall, like there was this was before Panda Express was a thing. They had like their own version of Panda Express. It was called like, you know, Tokyo Grill or something like that. You had Sbarro's and you had Cinnabon, right? So like, and then you had like the pretzel place, a couple other places that would be at the mall, A&W Root Beer. But the Cinnabon, I used to go to the Cinnabon, get the cinnamon roll.
Oh my God.
And then ask them for like 4 extra frostings. And like every single bite of cinnamon roll that I had was just bathed. And every square inch of that bread was bathed in that white cream frosting. And then I wondered when I was in my 20s why I was overweight. You know, like it's like, wait, what happened to my 6-pack? Why do I have, well, I probably had like a 4, but still, I'm like, what happened to my abs? They've been covered up. And I looked and it's just frosting. Frostings from Cinnabon. I was addicted
I would
to
say
that
is
shit.
good stuff.
I was
That is
so
good
addicted
stuff.
to that. And nowadays, like if I eat that, because I don't really mess with sugar too much now. If I eat that white frosting now, like the cream cheese frosting, the initial taste is divine, but about 2-3 seconds later, it becomes nauseatingly bad. Like it makes my mouth numb. Like I cannot do overly sweet stuff anymore.
So the thing is, Dutch, that's how it's always tasted. You're just not dumb anymore. You learned that was bad for you. We all do this. You know, if I drink a soda now because we ran out of soda at the house, so I drink water
Pop.
for like soda.
Soda.
Thank
Pop.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay. You're back in my good graces. I love you forever.
Yes.
We'll stage a coup against Dutch later. But it literally takes me like 3 days of drinking water, and I have a soda, and it's like I'm drinking syrup. And I'm like, how can people drink this over and over? It don't take long, but yeah, you're probably healthier now.
Fuck you, Lamar.
Leave Lamar alone.
You are
Lamar is a
super outvoted on this. I know our Midwest
you.
folks are going to call it pop, though. So,
But they're both Midwesterners. I don't understand why they're not on my team.
I'm from the south of the Midwest.
I'm from the west of the Midwest.
I'm from the west of the West. West.
Everything in America, everything in America should be judged on where it is in proximity to Chicago.
To the.
I live on the. I live on the West Coast. Well, where do you live? Oh, Iowa. I'm west of Chicago. So
You're
that's
the
right.
westest,
I forgot you're
the
from,
westest of the West.
I forgot you're from Philly when you were like 4. Okay. Lamar, I've known you since junior high. You're a Chicagoan now. You're what, 50 years old, you fuck? Stop claiming Philly. Although the Eagles are looking pretty good this year. I will tell you that.
They're a good hockey team.
They actually do have a hockey team. All right.
The Green Bay Packers.
Let's read from our favorite history book for a page. Now, I have no idea.
Good night, y'all.
Just give me a number between. I don't know what I'm going to read. So I just want to show you how bad this book is.
Lindsay, let's see if we can think.
A number between.
Let's think of the same number
between 1
Okay.
A number between 1 and 460.
276.
I was gonna guess 276.
Oh my God, Mikey, I knew it.
There was a link. We're linked.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's just see what's on page 276. And then I'll read what the I'm sorry, you got that's the chapter review. Do you want me to go back?
See, Mikey, I was trying to get you out of it, man.
It's the chapter review.
Yeah, give me a test.
Oh,
that's what you should do. Give us the test in the book. I bet you.
See if we can pass it. Oh shit, this could be embarrassing.
273 is where the chapter they talk about stuff that is talked about on the page you requested, which was 276, and it's about
what's the topic?
The topic is Reconstruction comes to an end. You have really
shit.
You probably have. All right, so.
Objection, Your Honor. My stupid Republican schools whitewashed history. There was no Reconstruction. Mm-hmm. Everything just snapped back to normal. So
there were carpetbaggers for like a hot minute, and then it was like the Industrial Revolution, and we are unclear about anything that happened.
I would like to also put into evidence the Dust Bowl. A lot of records were lost because I'm pretty sure that happened right after.
Mm-hmm.
This will be interesting though. I'm just looking at what's in this particular piece of the chapter here. I'm wondering how they would go. I've read their stuff on the Civil War itself, but this is post Civil War, so I'm very interested to see where they go on this stuff. But I said I would read from the page that you said, and you said 276.
Are we getting our test? We were promised a game, and we want to play our game.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you want to do it that way? Let's do the test.
Let's take the test. See if we can get it right.
Oh yeah, right, Spanish-American War, like they burned all the records.
All right, so chapter review is 276. Know the following individuals. That's not really a test.
Maybe we have to say something about the individuals for partial credit.
Yeah. Yes.
It doesn't give you what their answers is. Okay, here we go. Yeah, all right.
I was saying no answers in the book.
Yeah, there aren't answers. Just memorize that this person existed.
Oh, I guess it's their take home, do their homework books though.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
Oh, you don't have the teacher's one. You have like a student one.
No, I have the teacher's edition.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. All
Teachers
right,
don't
so
get answers
the
either.
questions,
There aren't
teachers-
answers.
the critical thinking,
Sure.
the critical thinking here.
Oh, good. They're
All
good
right,
at that.
these are their critical thinking questions.
I got this.
I'm ready.
Compare Jefferson Davis with Abraham Lincoln. What did each believe he was fighting for?
They both thought they were fighting for states' rights, but one
Yeah.
of those states' rights was to own people.
Their own people.
Why did Robert E. Lee return to Virginia to fight for the South? What did he think
Because
of slavery? And
ultimately,
Child support.
ultimately, he was willing to support it, to justify it, to maintain his livelihood.
Agree.
how did revival affect the Southern Army? Oh my God. The Christian revival.
It gave them something to look forward to after they were going to their imminent deaths.
I would probably say that the answer that they're probably looking for is like it showed them
morale.
it showed them how the Lord,
the gentle
on
guiding
their
hand
side.
of providence. Gentle guiding hand of providence.
How did Reconstruction hurt the South? How did it help the South? And the last question, what did Booker T. Washington believe was more important than political reform?
What kind of game show is this?
I was
I'm
asking us
sorry.
8 questions.
No, those are the.
Yo, we went by default.
All right. How did Reconstruction hurt and help the South?
It hurt the South because they took away their the people they owned, and that was how they built their economy. And so they suffered for a little bit economically, and then found new legalese ways to continue to oppress them.
Interesting.
And the bitches lost, and they use their own fucking fields as fucking battlegrounds, dumbass. You can't grow shit when there's bombs all over the place.
I would say, and your cities have been burned down, and you don't have any railways or factories. We're also slaves.
All right, and then,
or ports.
There's questions about Booker T. Washington, but the all right, so let's read that part.
Forever.
He was Booker T. All right, Reconstruction comes to an end. Let's see what they talk about here. I'll race through this. The Compromise of 1870.
Do they say Jim Crow?
I
guarantee
we will find out. And if they do, they'll probably say the evil Democrats did Jim Crow.
Yeah.
But
who is James Crow?
Yeah. Let's see what they say. The Compromise of 1877. The presidential election of 1876 promised to be a close race. Democrats chose Samuel J. Tilden. He had won a reputation for honesty by smashing the notorious Tweed ring. The Republicans chose Rutherford B. Hayes, also known for his honesty. Hayes announced his desire to permanently end any ill feelings between the North and the South. His background as a Union major general in the Civil War won the votes of many Union War veterans. Tilden received. Tilden won the popular vote by 250,000, but a disagreement arose over the electoral votes. This actually is true.
What?
So
what?
I
to
will
solve
not
the dispute,
accept the results if I have been proven to be the loser.
this is actually they're not wrong here. To solve the dispute, Congress they're going towards the compromise of 1877. Congress decided to set up the Electoral Commission. In the end, Southern Democrats decided to give up the disputed electoral votes to Hayes under certain conditions, which became known as the Compromise of 1877. According to this, Hayes would be the new president, providing that all federal troops be removed from the southern states.
I thought it was called Hazed and Confused. My bad.
It was. Hayes appointed at least one Southerner to his cabinet. Federal money be given to for economic development of the South. They're not going to define what that was because all that money actually just went to the slave owners.
Yeah.
The Compromise of 1877 ended Reconstruction in the South. The legacy
it
of
didn't go to
Reconstruction.
reparations. Where's the reparations money?
If they would have just paid it then, it would have been so much easier.
Interest, motherfucker.
Easier for who? Would be their question.
Right. Not easier for the slave owners. That was who they were worried about. Okay. So the legacy, let's see what they say about the legacy of Reconstruction. I actually hope it's not horrible, but I have a feeling it's going to be. The plans of politicians in Washington, D.C. for Reconstruction in the South had serious flaws. You don't say.
No shit.
Rather than encourage local government, churches, and individual families to solve their own problems, the federal government forced its own solution on the people of the South.
Oh, well, actually, okay.
Yeah,
I disagree with the way that they're framing that.
The federal government had made slavery illegal. They wanted to keep doing it. So yes, they did not let them do it their way.
I was going to say, they didn't let them say we're going to opt out, actually. So
They have a medical exemption.
yeah.
The folly of political...
A personal belief, personal philosophy exemption.
Yeah. I actually do believe blacks are property. So sorry. Not going to go for that.
We're going to just opt out of that one.
Oh my God.
Agree to disagree. Hey, you know that two things can be true at the same fucking time.
Well, two things can be true at the same time. So here's what they say.
Oh no.
The folly of political solutions can be seen in the effect Reconstruction had on agriculture. Southern plantation owners might have sold or even given their unused land to the black freedmen to farm in return for a percentage of the profit at harvest.
Based on what?
It's an assumption because they're benevolent. But instead of allowing the plantation owners to manage their own estates, selfish politicians forced them off the land with high property taxes. The confiscation of farmland in the South forced many farmers, both black and white, into the bondage of sharecropper farming.
I'm getting treated like
they use the word bondage?
Yes.
I'm getting treated like a black.
Sharecroppers farmed the land for a landlord who claimed a large percentage of their harvest.
Like a black.
They also had to buy supplies from company stores that charged unreasonably high prices. Sharecropping not only reduced millions of farmers to poverty, but also ruined the land because cotton and tobacco.
Pause.
Yeah. All right.
Do you know what that's from? What I'm saying that? Like that fucking like doctor or whatever. He had like a fucking meltdown in the fucking airport. He's like, you're treating me like I'm black. Like it was so. That's what. Okay, let me see if I can find it for you. You guys what's reference?
What they have failed. Well, Mikey looks it up. What they have failed to say here is two things. Number one, they are trusting that the Southern plantation owners, the former slave owners, would have been like good,
benevolent.
Yeah.
Which they had a lot of centuries to do that and they didn't. So I don't think they magically were just gonna be like, you know what we should do? Share our property and our unused land with our brethren.
Correct. What they have also done is they've like, so when you had immigrants, like white people who were sharecroppers, there was a huge difference between the way that a white sharecropper was treated and the way that a black sharecropper was treated.
Oh yeah.
They had different, they were charged different rates for things. They had to come up with a certain amount of crop in order to earn the right to share. So they would have a quota, right? And the plantation owner, the former slave owner, what he would do is he would rent the tools, rent the supplies, rent the livestock, everything else there to the sharecropper. And the sharecropper would have like this quota that they had to meet. And regardless of any environmental effects, if a sharecropper did not meet the quota that was just pulled out of thin air by the plantation owner, then they would literally be in debt to the plantation owner.
Yeah.
And when they were in debt to the plantation owner in those days, you went to debtor's prison.
Yeah. Or you could like sell some of your children.
You know, my family
Get
did
rid
that,
of your
right?
debt.
Like it is
Sold their children?
No, we sharecropped in Tennessee. We still own the land. Well, look, we sold almost all of it. There's a little bit left.
That's crazy. No, I didn't know that.
So then here's what they say about
That's
the Hayes
south of the
presidency.
Midwest.
Yeah, the Midwest South.
Yeah, that's middle Southwest.
Mhm.
Listen to this. Listen to this
I'm
framing.
from St. Louis, which is the southern gem
Lou.
of
Midwest.
Yes, the Lou, they call it.
The Lou. Listen to
Do you want
this.
to see this? Do you want to see this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
show us that
can't.
first.
Hold on. I'll go back like 15 seconds of it because it's. I know you've seen this. I think maybe I just have like a robot brain sometimes. And I
No,
remember
you
shit
don't say.
And I remember
Oh my
shit that no
gosh.
one else remembers. Tell me if this brings up anything.
Do not keep up with me. Look at them. Look at them. They're gonna beat me up.
This dude was smashed at the airport being a dick, and they got the cops.
Look at them. Oh my God! I can't believe they're doing this. Oh my God! Hey, look what they're doing.
Wait for it.
Oh, get the other side. I'm not listening. I'm supposed to be rough with me.
Look how gentle they're being with his neck.
Person.
Why would you talk right over the quote? How did you know the quote was coming, and then you chose the chance to talk? How did you know? How?
All right,
I
back it
literally
up.
put it back so that he wouldn't know when it was coming, and so he wouldn't do it. And then he's still. God, how do you know?
Get the other side.
How?
I'm not listening. I'm supposed to be rough with me. You treat me like a black person. You're gonna get sprayed.
You're gonna get sprayed.
What?
You understand me? You're not hurt.
Look at that. You see the
Oh
guy in the gray shirt? Go back and play that again.
Oh my God.
Watch the guy in the gray shirt when he says that. That is a classic fucking reaction. Just rewind it maybe a couple of seconds.
Yeah, supposed to be rough with me. You treat me like a black person. You're gonna get sprayed. You're gonna get sprayed. Release your hands. Put it behind your back.
This dude's like, all right, I'm out of here.
He's like, nah.
He's like, you're treating
None
me
of
like
that.
a fucking black person. Oh my God.
That guy's a fucking doctor.
Oh my God. Well,
A
I'm not
doctor.
I'm less
That is-
surprised than I probably should be.
Look, I am all on board with the fact that police are too rough with people. But if that's your reaction when you go to the ground, I'm glad they were a little bit rough with you.
I don't
It's a
disagree.
great case of what, Dutch? Shouting something?
Schadenfreude?
Done.
Schadenfreude? Let me read you guys this next sentence real quick here, and then we'll jump off of this ridiculousness. The Hayes presidency. So Rutherford B. Hayes became president right after Reconstruction, right? So
Yes.
here's how they frame it. Although Hayes served only one term, he did much to restore the morale of the country. In addition to freeing the South from martial law, he appointed a Southerner to the cabinet and began a reform of the civil service program to assure more honesty in the federal government. That part's fine. The civil service is made up of people who work for government agencies.
AKA the federales.
What they
Free the South.
What they conveniently skip here is, number one, the South was not necessarily under martial law. There were Northern troops during Reconstruction sent to the South to enforce the fact
The law.
that people had been freed, but
What
were
in the
not
law and order
actually
did
being
you just say?
like the plantation owners, many plantation owners,
CATB.
many slave owners did not free their slaves
No.
After the end of the Civil War, they said, well, let them come and free them. They didn't tell them.
No. Why would they?
Some did. Most of them didn't. So in order to enforce the law, they sent troops down there to make sure that the plantation owners were not continuing slavery.
Well,
That is
and
not martial law.
You didn't take them for their word? That's fucked up. Where's the trust?
Where's the trust? They had definitely earned so much trust at that point. Like,
How could you not just trust them to let those people go?
yeah. Up until that point,
Are you down here checking?
they'd had a lot of their history, their past together. They made a lot of choices that made them very trustworthy. So you bring up a good point.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, America, land I love. There's so much in this book that I can't wait to get to, because I've read ahead to a couple things, and that there is, I think next week I'm going to read their part on Robert E. Lee, because it is a glowing report on Robert E. Lee.
Oh, I'm sure.
And like, maybe I'll do it on a Wednesday show too, because like, we have never done any like deep dive into Robert E. Lee. He was not a particularly good dude.
No.
What? How could you say that?
Shocking. You know what? I was taught that like he didn't like slavery.
Me too.
He loved his family and his community. And he was like, he had so much honor that he had to help them, but he didn't like slavery. And so he was a good person. That's what I was taught.
Well, are you trying to say that this country did bad shit? Sounds real commie of you.
I was going to say, sounds like you had America.
Sounds like you need my boys to come over there and give you some freedom lessons.
It's not very patriotic of you.
Swede _ Irish for all your econ news.
Yeah.
Be a real shame if something happened to your fucking commie face over there. Get my USA brass knuckles and teach you a lesson about patriotism.
We'll have none of that blasphemy here.
What else? Did you have anything? What else do you have, Lindsay? You had anything else that you were?
I mean, those were the three big things. So, yeah. So watch out. They're getting real open with their plans for fascism. So that's fun. So.
The only thing that I wanted to kind of, and I know Swede's fading out. Hopefully, if Swede's still there, he should probably stay on for this, because I just want to show one real quick thing. And I came across this by accident the other day. This is Kevin McCarthy's website called An Economy That's Strong, republicanleader.gov, right? So like, just this website is kind of hilarious. First and foremost, you've got all these workers all these shell workers up here at the top. All of them white guys. And I think that he probably forgot to mention that most of the shell refineries are union. So thank you for letting us know that you support unions. So the fight to fight inflation and lower the cost of living. Everyone knew that wasteful Washington spending would spur inflation. Millions in hardworking taxpayer dollars were sent to luxury resorts and ski slopes.
Hell yeah.
Even stimulus checks to prisoners like the Boston Marathon bomber.
I'm excited.
Yet after more than a year and a half of crushing inflation, Democrats still have no plan to solve it.
No planning.
Kevin, when the congressional committees met on inflation, Republicans didn't show up. They literally didn't go to the meetings.
They were busy. Well, the liberals set the meeting at a weird time, and they couldn't do it because they couldn't make it.
They had church.
Yeah.
church.
It's,
Yeah, they
you
had
know
it
what?
at
Yeah.
midnight o'clock because
If you can't check and make sure everybody can come, that's on you.
Space magic lesbians is why. I don't know.
Space magic lesbians.
Can't think of anything.
So he talks a lot about economics on this, as if, but never specifically points to the policy that led to it. Okay, so we talked a little bit earlier before about like the American Rescue Plan and how that, had some impact,
Mhm.
but he's doing here on this website, and this is the genius of Republican marketing, because his numbers are correct. The inflation number here, I think 550 is a little bit high. But the numbers that they put up there is correct. But he doesn't necessarily say that he doesn't really give any answers to the questions. Because
No, there's no context.
Right. When you click on the plan, right? So you look at it here, and you're like, okay, well, Kevin's got a plan. We have a plan to fix the economy and revive the American dream. Curb wasteful spending that is raising the price of gasoline, gas, cars, and housing, and growing our national debt, increase take-home pay, create good-paying jobs, and bring stability to the economy through pro-growth tax and deregulatory policies. Like, example, tell me what you mean. Because curb wasteful spending, like what? What's wasteful spending?
No, don't get bogged down in like specificities. Just say like really big general things that people like to hear.
Yeah, I think we should curb wasteful spending.
So what you're saying, Dutch, is that all the spending that the government does is right. You're telling me that the liberals are doing a good job with the spending right now. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Okay, so then and now I can use all the Democrat stuff that you don't want me to talk about, and then boom, I just smashed your debate. Next opponent.
He says he's going to curb wasteful spending, but see, the thing to them is like, so I wonder, Kevin, and this was the main thing that I thought of when I looked at this. I wonder, Kevin, how much money did we waste burning books?
Well, that was a sacrifice. Okay.
You know what? That was for the children. We would pay any price for the children.
How much would you invest into the children's future if you could?
How much money did we waste with having with COVID by not having people take simple preventative measures? How much money
we did it for the economy. We did it for the economy.
Do you know how much our last book burning cost thanks to Uncle fucking Joe Biden's fucking gas prices? It's been costing me an arm and a leg to burn all these.
It's ridiculous.
And I'm glad Irish Sweet is still on, because I knew that this number was high. I didn't know how high it was, like how much too high it was. Irish Sweet has corrected this fact. It's 40%.
I was going to say like 550. That's like Zimbabwe numbers. Like,
well, yeah, like it's I mean, maybe, but see, like they don't source.
That sounds made up.
I'm just taking a wheelbarrow of cash around.
My debit card is so heavy.
Well, like, I'm sure that he has a source for that, because what they usually don't do is they usually don't just tell you a blatant lie, but they'll say, well, between this particular day and this day, so 550% from our basis point was 1971.
Yeah.
So I'm telling the truth.
1875, inflation has increased that much.
Yeah, 550%.
Since the year 1200 of our Lord.
I was thinking it was probably about a third of that number, but I'm glad Irish Sweet corrected me, because 550%. I was like, there's no way that, and of course there's no citation, right?
No,
keep reading.
The citation is Jesus. Jesus,
right?
Jesus gave them that number. No, Jesus gave them the number. It's in the Bible. Do you hate religion too?
Wow. Persecuting the Christians.
Raising the price of gas, groceries, and cars, et cetera, et cetera. These are supply chain issues. They are not necessarily related to the any of the spending. The only one that might possibly be related to the spending would be cars. And the reason why cars would be in there was because when people like car dealerships kind of shut down for a while. And then when they reopened, there was a shortage of new cars because there was a computer chip shortage. So a lot of people bought used cars, and that did because they had been, you had literally no new car purchases for like, I don't remember exactly how many months, but let's say it was like a 4 or 5 month period. You had almost no new car purchases via dealerships, or very, very few. Like it was very, like the dealership by my house was open, but they were open by appointment only. And it was very much a nuisance. You couldn't test drive the car. So not a lot of cars were bought. There was a lot of economic uncertainty. So after the stimulus money came out, after the American Rescue Plan, the people went and they were like, okay, let's go buy cars. But because inventory was low and people needed the cars, a lot of times they bought used cars for in lieu of a new car, but overpaid for the used car, right? So the timing of it
is crazy on used cars, especially for like performance used
Yeah.
cars.
Oh my
it
gosh.
is.
Like for like a SRT8 like truck, they want like $130,000 for it. Like it's just like the stupidest shit. Like it's
wild
because you can't get a new one, right? So like because Dodge, the thought process behind that is like Dodge isn't going to build a bunch of SRT8 trucks. They're going to build more of the base model trucks because those sell better, right? So, and Dodge doesn't like, when you get high grossed on a car, that money doesn't go to Dodge, it goes to the dealership, right? Like, so if you go to your dealership and you buy a car and the sticker price is $31,999, but the dealership tells you, no, you're going to pay $37,999 for this car. That $6,999 over sticker goes to the dealership, not to Dodge.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's a lot of people think, well, Dodge made more money on that. No, they didn't. The dealership made more money. And I'm not against dealerships making money. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's how it works. Right.
Yeah.
So, going back to the American Rescue Plan. Oh, not American Rescue Plan. The McCarthy plan here. Increase take-home pay. What he means by that is he's going to cut taxes for the rich. Create good-paying jobs. What he means by that is he's going to cut taxes for the rich and bring stability to the economy through pro-growth tax and deregulatory policies. He's even saying again right there, I'm going to cut taxes for the rich.
Cut taxes for the rich.
I think the first one is more or less he's going to cut spending for Social Security and all the other things.
I was going to say they're talking about cutting those programs. So
right, they want to cut. They're going to whenever they say more take-home pay, it means fuck you paying into people who are actually needing help.
Yeah,
so and you're going to save a lot of money by not helping them.
If we just like get rid of those programs, you don't have to pay to them anymore. And like, fuck you when it's time to retire or if anything happens to you.
You're right. Now, the Pelosi pay cut, if you would, Lindsay, people like listening to you more than me. Would you be so kind?
Let's see. If you've had, I gotta pull my computer. I'm getting sleepy. I'm failing. If you had a constant salary for the past 2 years, Democrats' failed policies have taken more than 1 month of your income away each year. So that's like the machine off of Princess Bride. Sucked 1 month of your pay.
Yes, I love that. That is awesome.
That means you've
50.
We've never done that before. That means you've effectively received a pay cut. I love how he like lays that out. They know their audience. That's for damn sure.
Well, what does that mean?
So yeah, well, so they Princess Brided away 1 month of your salary, which is like not accurate. So,
Yeah,
but
so
they should have gone with the Princess Bride analogy. That was a
Maybe a
missed
couple
opportunity.
First of all, what does this have to do with Pelosi? I love the branding.
She did
You
it.
haven't tied.
Well, guys,
how
have you
Pelosi
seen
has
her?
anything
She's
to do with this.
Totally villain.
Now, first of all,
Absolute
I
villain.
agree. Not a big fan of Pelosi. She's done some good things, like in her many years, but she also cherry picks legislation, right? So like two things can be true at once.
Mhm.
But but
Yeah.
so like the reason why you've had a constant salary for the past 2 years is because Republicans don't want you to get a pay raise.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's number one. Democrats' failed policies have taken more than 1 month of your income away each year. Explain to me what you mean by that.
Yeah. No, it's just a nonsensical fear tactic. It doesn't mean anything specific, but it's just scary enough that you're like, yeah, wait a second. They stole 1 month of my income.
I needed that check.
Skyrocketing food prices, grocery prices have shot up. Joe Biden and the Democrats have no plan to fix it. Actually, that was written into the infrastructure bill because there is literally money in there to help decongest the supply chain, which is the
Yeah,
reason
but they
why you
didn't-
have higher grocery prices.
No, they don't want to do that because their supporters are the ones profiting off that. I really do have to duck out, guys. I'm like,
Okay, no, that's good. That you're good, sister. We'll actually,
I'm
you know what?
old.
We will we'll call it a day there. And the last part is gas, which we all know that lie. So, Lindsay, before you go, why don't you tell the people where they can follow you and what you got going on TikTok?
Yeah, hey, follow me at Socialistly Awkward on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, if that's how you watch your TikToks. And I just did my voter guide for Idaho. I've covered some stuff. Oh, Idaho, this is new. We didn't talk about it, but we can next week. Idaho has crafted a law that once their legislative session starts, they're going to ban drag shows. So that's cool. That's not gonna be, unconstitutional. So anyway, I've got some info about that, and yeah, everyone start requesting your absentee ballots if you already haven't, and everyone needs to vote. And that's it.
Boom. Well, there
Have
we
a
go.
good weekend.
All right, we'll see you next week. Mikey,
See you
thanks for
guys.
jumping in. Please stay on, guys. If you're on Twitch, maybe Progressive Brat rated us the other day, so we'll return the favor here with less people. But
It's not a contest.
so the 5 of you that are on there right now, please hang on for 1 second and let's go. All right, and YouTube, see you later, YouTubers.